Someone make it make sense.
Probably a couple.
Hello, everybody. Did the magic of internet and technology wonders work, guys? Did you get transferred over like on a rocket ship? Yeah, did it work, guys? It looks like it worked for Kitsmiths. DSN this looks like it was from earlier tonight. So, oh boy, okay, we got some people. Excellent. Did it work, guys? I wonder what that was like. I feel like whenever I've been on streams where the automatic thing was supposed to happen, I feel like I usually end up one of the people where it doesn't transfer. So I can't really recall what it's like to do that, but it must be pretty cool. And when I first selected that option, I was like, does it automatically transfer me? Or I'm like, it doesn't give you any, it doesn't come with instructions, right? It doesn't tell you what to do. It's just, you want to try this option. And I'm like, it doesn't tell, like, what do I do? But like, anyway, looks like it. Okay, cool. Next up. All right, cool. Neato. Excellent. Happy to see you guys. Neato. Also, I will say, for anybody who missed our live stream on Friday for the trial, when we did Brian Higgins live on the stand, because I know maybe some of you guys weren't here at the beginning of the last stream, but I streamed it live with him on direct and then just the very beginning across. But I will say, I highly recommend it because there's some things, the Squirrel crew was on point, man. I'm telling you, they brought their A game. There's a lot of things that that y'all that were there pointed out that were really, really, really astute points that I haven't seen anywhere else. And just a couple things too that I feel like kind of went unnoticed from other streams and stuff like that. You know, I think that like you learn something different from all the different streams, right? Like, well, in my, LawTube especially, of course, there's the toxic. Anyway, I'm not going to recommend anybody go become a part of those conversations, but for conversations and from people on YouTube who I feel like have a lot to offer and productive conversation, right? Everybody's got something different, and sometimes they point out some of the same things, and sometimes it's different, and so I just feel like I guess like as I was going through and doing the timestamps for it, which by the way, there's very specific timestamps, and anything that's, if you go to the description, any timestamps that are in bold, I thought were either especially funny or especially astute or important points. I put those in bold. On the scrolly bar, they can't do bold, but anyway, I am happy they're on the scrolly bar finally. But anyway, as I was doing the timestamps, I realized that, and especially because by that point I had already listened to Cross and I'd listened to the other streams, like EDB and Runkle and stuff. And as I was doing this timestamps, I was just really, really, really proud of us because we really did a great job. And I feel I'm saying this like 100%. I feel like it's valuable. Like I feel like people will enjoy it and benefit from it, even if they watched some of those other streams or all of those other streams. I think that because we point out some different things, and yeah, like like I said, it was great because I don't think anybody else talked about the actual practical element of how do you get a snowplow on and off and how long does that take, and we actually addressed that, for example, and some other things. So right. So I will say, even if you've seen his testimony, I really think that, I do recommend it. I know there's not all, as far as time goes, this trial this week is only going to be in court Tuesday. So for anyone who's like, what am I going to do on Monday and the other days of the week? Of course, I guess Chad Daybell is going to be wrapping up as well, but I think it's valuable to go back and watch it, even if you saw the testimony. Just like it's valuable, this is just for me. I will watch these testimonies in full and have done for everyone that I feel like I learned from. Who's, like, for example, EDB and Runkle. I'll watch the entirety of both. I've already watched the entirety of most of it, actually, of all of EDB and most of Runkle. And I'll watch the recaps when they do that, when Runkle does that. Like, and when Lawyer does his cover. I already saw that too. So, like, for me, again, everybody has something different because it's not just about the testimony, because people notice different things. So I do really think it's valuable. I think we had a lot of really good moments there. And so I wouldn't recommend people watching it if I didn't think that they could benefit from it. So I'm really proud of what we brought to the table with that live stream. I think it was great. So, yeah, the cringy texts. So I don't think these were just screenshots, man. Those were just screenshots from his phone. That's all. They were just like how we had screenshots from Allie and Colin Albert. Same. So it's screenshots. There's no authentication at all. That's why the judge gives that instruction. She gave the same instruction, actually, as she did then. She says to the jury, y'all get to decide if any of this is authentic, basically, because there's no way to prove who those people are, right? Like, that's the first step. That's the first reason for like doing the Celebrate and stuff, is because you're proving that the phone number belongs to the person. And you can't do that without actually going through all the different, actually, you have to go through the cell phone carrier. Again, think of Murdoch. Remember? You have to have the Verizon custodian of records. You have to have the iPhone people. You have to have the person with the Celebrate, the person who then turned Celebrate over to that person after person after person after person. The chain of custody is huge. And there's a lot of foundation established, all for one purpose, that when they get to these text messages, the jury knows there's no way around it. You know whose phone number this is. You know this is real. You know this wasn't altered. You know that the time is the right time. All that, right? There's a lot of hoops you have to jump through. A lot of hoops. And if you don't jump through all those hoops, it doesn't count. You can't half-ass it there. Yeah, no, for sure on that. Okay, yeah, cool. I'm glad. And let me know your thoughts. I'm really curious because, y'all's opinions all matter to me, and you guys are all smart and you guys all know your stuff. And yeah, I really, and I've said this before too, like, I just am so appreciative to those who were there and those who watch in replay too, but because I know there are so many places to watch. And that's why I'm especially happy to say, like, that, the people who are there and part of the conversation and stuff, like, you know, are part of what made that stream really great. I just was so proud of the squirrel crew. Um, so Iowa Backyard Cam, happy to see you. Shout out to you. Right, and that's a good point, Kid Smith. So Karen Reed's phone. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because why isn't it is interesting that the prosecution's not submitting. Now, I wonder, here's what I wonder. I mean, the only way I'm thinking back to opening statements, right, from the defense. So from opening statements, what we heard was that they didn't have a warrant. Like, she handed her phone over, but they didn't have a warrant, because we know that whole thing with the nude pictures and shit. So I'm wondering if the defense got her cell phone shit thrown out because they didn't have a warrant. That might be what it was. That might be what it was. That might be why. That might be why. That might be why. And in that case, one thing I'm wondering is if they have stuff on her phone, like if the defense has stuff on her phone that actually helps their theory of the case. I guess they still can't use it, right? I mean, if either it's admissible or it's not. So if it's inadmissible, it's inadmissible. So yeah. So man, and I just, again, I really appreciated Alan Jackson's strategy with that cross. I thought it was really interesting how he handled that. And again, we'll get to do all that cross on the recap. Which the thing, yeah. And by the way, somebody mentioned how it's nuts that they only have court on Tuesday. That might, right, here we go. So wow, I feel like one of those people when they're like, I saw this comment fly by. Where was it? And then you go find it and pull it up. Huh, funny. Yeah, I don't. It's this court is really crazy, right? Like, because I don't know that we've had a full week yet. Maybe 1 week was a full week, but by a full week, I mean not even, because they still do half days and court ends early always for them. So I don't know. And this judge apparently doesn't actually say why on the record. Like, it's so weird. It's like a judge that doesn't want to be there because, like, it's just odd. I mean, I know that it's a holiday weekend, so I think that maybe all courts are closed on Monday, but as far as the rest of the week, who knows? But again, that being said, we're going to get all caught up on our recaps. I will try to stream Tuesday if I can, because that's going to be the rest of Brian Higgins on Cross. What would be sick, by sick, I mean cool, like the kids say, would be if we can be caught up. Okay, fingers crossed. If we can be caught up, because there's not court on Monday, right? If we can be, by we, I mean me, basically having time to make the videos. If what can happen, our powers combined, making all the magic happen, squirrely magic, we can be all caught up with the recapping so that we finished Monday night recapping Brian Higgins' testimony thus far, so that we're all caught up to Tuesday. And then if I can stream it live, I will. I don't know if that's possible, like hours-wise, because tomorrow is Sunday. Yeah, I don't know if that's possible, but we will see. Tomorrow I was going to do the BK hearing. I suppose if you guys express that you would rather do that later and try to do another recap for this, like, in other words, plow through, like, not plow through is not the right word, but like, do the recap, do another, if I were to do a recap for tomorrow night and Monday night on week 4, we might be able to be caught up. And if you guys would prefer that, let me know, because I can always change the Koberger hearing to another day. That being said, the hearing is short. It's not long, but I can't start streaming until 9 o'clock tomorrow night because I have lessons. Unless I finished early, but that rarely happens. I usually run late. So, and I had a couple different students get new violins today, which is exciting. Yeah. So the only way they were deemed, I know, kids, but the only way it was deemed admissible was with those instructions, right? So they weren't. The judge. I'm trying to think. We cover, okay, actually, on the live stream on Friday, I have a timestamp for it. The timestamp says how the text messages come in. And that takes you to where I believe it's like either right after the judge reads the instruction or maybe right before she reads the instruction. And we talk about how they come in and we talk about the instruction. But we'll hear it again when we do the recap. But yeah, it has to do with her instruction. It's like she did with the text message, or sorry, screenshots of text messages between Colin and Lally, where she says to them, it's put in their hands. She's basically like, y'all get to decide if any of this is legit or not, because we cannot prove who is on this text message. In other words, this may not be Karen and Brian. Essentially, is what it boils down to. They get to decide if they think it's even those people talking. Iowa says, hubby brought the second trailer and truck full of house stuff. Cool. Awesome. So it sounds like you guys are doing like a gradual move. Is that kind of what's happening? Because that sounds amazing. I think this case is happening despite the judge. I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, I think I understand what you mean, that the judge doesn't want to be there and the case is happening. Yeah, that would make sense. Okay, that would make sense. Okay, yeah, I understand. Yeah, unpacking. Moving's a lot. Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Hopefully you're in the house. Although I guess hopefully the weather is inclement. It's funny, I was thinking inclement, the opposite of inclement, clement. But no one says it like that, right? Oh, sick equals good through jazz musicians. That's funny. Yeah, sick. I think sick was actually 90s thing, maybe. I'm trying to remember. Kids used to say it. Yeah. They were allowed in, but with a huge asterisk. Absolutely. Yeah. There's a big instruction that they're given. And it really, it's really boils down to them being told, like, you can totally disregard all this. Starlink, is that the Elon Musk thing? Is that the Elon Musk thing? Is that happening? I don't know anything about that really. All right. Are you guys ready? When it's appropriate, given the topics of Cross, I might do the live premiere of of Get Low Canton style. We'll see. All right. Let's jump on in to the next recap. Beginning of week 4. Oh, wait, hold on. Night driving, quiet you.
It's a house.
There we go. That's right. It's a house. It's a fucking house, y'all. Just ask Alex Murdoch. He knows. I love it. I mean, I think it was a 90s thing. I could be wrong.
Hey. All persons having business before the Honorable Beverly Cannoni, Justice
Hi,
of the
Frankie
Norfolk
Biggs.
City
Happy to see you.
for the County of Norfolk.
Shout
Your
out to
mayor,
Frankie
give your
Biggs.
attendance and you shall
Mr.
be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is now open.
Franks, we're about to hear Jen McCabe on cross exam from the beginning of cross.
You may be seated.
All right, Mr. Jackson, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. McCabe, family is important to you, is it not?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, it's probably fair to say that family is one of the most important things in your life.
Yes.
You indicated on Friday that you know John O'Keefe, or you knew John O'Keefe, and you considered him.
What did you guys think about this first question? Let's hear it again. Let's hear it again. This is the big moment, right? How are you going to start this cross exam? And we know how they've started a lot of the cross exams for these other witnesses that were there, right? Like the first questions are typically like, when were you first interviewed? Who interviewed you? Things along that things like that. And that might be partially a strategy so that it actually stands out when they don't start that way. I think even with Matt McCabe, the first question was again akin to the same way they've started a lot of these witnesses. So and if it was a strategy, it worked because it stood out to me that the first question was something completely different. So let's hear that again.
All right, Mr. Jackson, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. McCabe, family is important to you, is it not?
Miss McCabe, family is important to you, is it not? Man, that's wow. I mean, it gives me goosebumps. What a question. What a question. Because it's like you can already see where this is going. You know? Correct. Yeah, I agree. It's his right. She would do anything for family. And of course, I guess I can see kind of the big picture here. I think it's twofold. I agree with that. It's twofold. She would do anything for family, but also, and I believe it's towards the end of cross, I mean, we'll get to it, right? But then he brings it full circle by showing you how Karen and John weren't part of the family. They were the outsiders. So it serves two purposes, right? She'll do anything for her family, yeah. And also, the defendant and the victim they're not family. You could to do another like 90s term. They weren't part of the cool kids or they weren't in the in crowd. I don't know. Were those terms? I don't know.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, it's probably fair to say that family is one of the most important things in your life.
Yes.
You indicated on Friday that you know John O'Keefe.
It's brilliant.
You knew John
And
O'Keefe,
it's brilliant. And you know why else it's a brilliant question? Because it's a question she can't say no to. She can't say no when he asks her family's important to you. It's a win-win. She can't say no to that, right? So that's great.
You also indicated that you know Miss Reed, and at some point you considered her.
Exactly, Kit Smits, yes.
Yes.
But clearly, John O'Keefe was not family, was he?
No.
He was not a McCabe, correct?
No.
He was not an Albert.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
No.
Karen Reed is not family, correct?
Correct.
Not a McCabe?
One of the few times that names are mentioned.
No.
Ms. McCabe, when you were at Waterfall on the evening of the 28th, going into the early morning hours of the 29th, you spent some time with John O'Keefe and Karen Reed.
Correct.
You didn't see any tension between the two of them at the time?
No.
Now let's watch, because remember what I was saying on the last one, look at her demeanor, listen to how long her answers are. Let's see, when does it shift? Her answers are going to change in terms of right now, she's still just yes or no, one word answers. It's going to shift. And if I recall correctly, I will just tell you guys, you know how there's like things that happen in life and you'll never forget where you were and what you were doing? A lot of people will say, for example, that when 9/11 happened, this is just something you hear. And when 9/11, they remember where they were and what they were doing. Just as an example that most people can relate to if you were born already. Of course, everyone has things in their life. I will just say, like, okay, so for every trial, I have moments like that. And if you guys followed when I did the deep dive on Murdoch, the moment that I had like that or one of the big moments I have like that I can remember so vividly, even right now, is with Chris Wilson on the stand during the proffer, and him talking about like when he found out what was going on with Alex and stuff, and him crying on, like tearing up on the stand. And then there was also a couple moments there with like Ronnie Crosby and Mark Ball when they're talking about Paul and stuff and how they got him like there. Yeah. But here's my example for this. I remember where I was the beginning of Cross here. And I remember watching when it changed. And I remember what I was doing. I had just gotten out of the shower and I have really long hair and I have really thick hair, lots of it. And it's a pain in the ass to dry and it takes forever. And so my house is old fashioned. Like it was built in the, I don't know, 40s or something. And which is actually, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it back when they built house, like it's great. Like it has all the original floors. Some of you guys have seen what my doors look like. It has a lot of character, but it has a really tiny bathroom. And the thing about old houses that I've learned is they don't have any outlets. It's not something you really think about till you live in a situation like this. So I only have one outlet per room. Some rooms have two, which might sound fine. And you won't realize it until you go to use outlets that you probably have more outlets than that. I'm serious. Like it's been a real challenge. But here's the biggest thing. My bathroom has no outlets. Again, something you wouldn't think about. And I didn't think about until I was setting up my bathroom and I get my hair dryer and my flat iron and I go to plug them in on this bathroom shelf I had already put up to put those things. And I was like, where's the outlet? And I couldn't find it. And I was like, there's no outlet. I've literally never been in a bathroom in my life that doesn't have an outlet. You're like, wait, what? How do I charge my toothbrush? How do I plug in all the things? There's no outlet. Yeah. So Candace has the same type of house. So I was like, huh. So there's a reason I'm saying all this because I actually had to build a special thing because I love building furniture and stuff and I'm super handy. And so I actually built, I'm actually really proud of it. I can put pictures on Discord if anyone wants to see it, but I actually built a special thing specifically for all the things that would normally go in the bathroom that has electricity and outlets and stuff and like lights and like can do all the things. So it's like a mirror and like shelving and it can do all that. So all my hair shit is like in that, but in other words, that's in the bedroom because that's where an outlet is. So I've never done my hair, dried my hair in a bedroom before, like ever. So anyway, but I also have a TV there and I know I don't ever use that TV ever, except for when I'm drying my hair. So that's the only time I use that TV. It's when I'm drying my hair because my hair takes so long to dry and I have to dry it in the bedroom. So there's a reason I'm saying all that. So this was when this was happening Tuesday morning, I was literally drying my hair and I get to stand, like I can actually stand right by the TV as I'm drying it. And it takes forever, you guys. And I was watching and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it because my hair was still wet and I was watching this and I literally was like, oh my God, I wish I could be streaming this right now because it was like a vanity. It was like a vanity, although I've never seen any purpose for a vanity, but it was the only way. It was like, I guess you would call it was like the only way I could figure out how to do the things you would normally do in a bathroom. But yeah, I guess it would be a vanity. Yeah. I built a stooly thing for it, but I don't ever sit because I don't really sit in life unless I'm driving. So I stand. I don't use the stool. Actually, I only use the stool if I'm putting something on the stool, but not my butt. So anyway, but it's really cool. It actually has like a slide out thingy with the mirror and it has like lights and it's actually pretty cool. Like I would never have a need for it elsewhere, but it looks cool and I'm glad. And I mean, yeah, back to the story. Yes. So that's what I was doing at that moment in time when this happened. And I'll just never forget it. I'll never forget it. Where her face changes and her demeanor changes and her answers change. It's nuts.
A normal couple to you?
I didn't see them interact much.
They were both engaging with you, correct?
I had separate conversations with them.
So John O'Keefe, we've seen from several videos, I'm not going to play the video, John O'Keefe was situated for the most part over in that corner as the camera is looking, the right corner of the bar, along with you, the Colakeithises, I think Matt McCabe was over there as well, correct?
I can't be sure, but I know I spoke to Karen in that corner.
And certainly you saw nothing to suggest that there was any tension or discord between and among those individuals, certainly between Ms. Reed and Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
When you left
She's still
Fairview,
agreeable for the most part so far.
were you among the first to leave or among the last to leave?
Yeah.
I left with, there was 4 of us that left total. It was
Which were?
myself, my husband, Matt.
It's starting to get a little bit contentious. Here's what I will say. When you're watching these things live in trial, I feel like, for me anyway, it's like you're taking in so much information because you're getting new information that it is easy to miss things. And that's why I love going back and being able to watch it and take your time and even replay things, because it's the brain can't process it all, like the visual and the audio, like information. So like Kit Smith said, I just caught that. Jen did a little make sure her demeanor is starting to change. And they're only talking about who was at the waterfall, y'all.
Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson.
When you walked out, Karina Kolakithis was close by, close in tow, correct?
Oh, wait, are you talking about leaving the waterfall?
Right.
The waterfall.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Yes.
was confused. I was talking about Fairview. Leaving the
you did say-
waterfall?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes,
he did
we
say
were
that.
one of the last to leave.
All right. And Miss Karina Kolakithis was sort of in tow right with you as you were walking out, correct?
Yes,
And Karen Reed, my client, was also heading that direction as well, correct?
yes,
And you said something to Miss Reed, did you not? As you walked out.
we were in a conversation. Yes,
Yeah, I see. It's now it's done. Now it's done because we already know what's coming here. And how is she going to explain
Did
this?
you say specifically, you're coming with me to Karen?
no,
You didn't say that.
not exactly those words.
What exactly were the
boy.
words that you used?
Oh boy.
I said, why don't you come with me?
Oh
And you
boy.
even waited
Oh,
outside
your eyes.
in what was
Did you see
ultimately
that?
freezing cold temperatures.
So when she looked over there, she's looking at the prosecution to object. Let me show you guys those eyes there. There's nothing to object there to. And she's already like, help me.
Reed, did you not? As you walked out.
We were in a conversation. Yes,
Did you say specifically, you're coming with me to Karen?
no,
You didn't say that.
not exactly those words.
What
for
exactly
it.
were the words that you used?
I said, why don't you come with me?
See right there already, she shook her head no as she said that and raised one shoulder. If you guys watch the behavior panel, now I'm not, I don't, whatever. I love watching the behavior panel, but it's not because I'm like 100. I'm so non-observant. It actually takes a lot for me to notice. And you guys have heard me say this before. It takes, something has to be kind of over the top for me to notice any of this shit, right? But for her and her husband, as examples, their gestures are so over the top that you can't really miss it. And I notice it despite I'm like observationally challenged with noticing things. But I just saw she does the single shoulder shrug and she shakes her head no. Now, you can break it down like the way they do, but I think that the point is this. I think the point is that if you're watching this, it comes across as if something is off. Now, what they kind of tend to do is they're able to say from like whatever science and stuff, physics, that was a reference back to Murdoch, it can be an indication of deception. I think that it's like, if you're watching this, you're like that, something feels odd, right? But I happened to notice she shakes her head no and does a single shoulder shrug, but they would tend to say that can be an indicator of deception. Oksana says she wanted to rephrase it to sound less bossy, but I don't think it helps her. Kit Smith says, just listening. Right, just listening. My impression was so far that, okay, this makes sense. Right. Yeah, it's just physics. It's different when you see her versus just listen. Yeah, body language. Yeah. I think I really, it's funny. It's funny because sometimes there's times where, and I haven't done it with this trial because I've been watching, but there are other times, I'm trying to think of a specific example, but there are other times where I listen. I'm just listening, but I can picture what they're looking like, which is really funny. I'm like, I can see exactly what they're doing, like in my mind. And then I go back and watch it and like see if it's correct. But anyway, yeah, I think you wouldn't have been able to catch some of that without watching her, at least right now. I think it'll be changed, but yeah, she's about to look over at the prosecution. just be, as in like, object, please save me.
And you even waited outside in what was ultimately freezing cold temperatures for Miss Reed, correct?
Yes.
Now do you see a person?
Yes.
The lighting is terrible. I apologize. Not my video. Do you know who that person is?
I don't know.
That's you, isn't it?
I can't tell from that picture if that's me.
Okay, let's
The
maybe
good old flag. Flags are a big part of this trial. Flagpole. Shout out to the flagpole.
Awesome. Now, with the flag out of the way, do you recognize anybody in the foreground down at the bottom right?
That looks to be John.
Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes,
Do you see someone to his right?
I do. Yes.
And who is that person?
I cannot make it out in the photo.
I don't know what that is. Smiths. You hate me. I don't know what Eddie Eastern is. Little
You see the
lizard.
person with the sort of white shoes just above the car.
Yes.
Does that appear to be you?
I can't make that out that it's me, but I know I was there and I know I spoke with them.
Okay, so you do recall walking outside and sort of waiting and hovering
No.
in about that area.
I think part of the point of this might be just to show the jury, like, here, we're going to present her with something that is obviously her, that we know is her, that she knows is her. Like, in other words, something that she knows is true. Like, this should be just an easy question. This is like a softball question. I think the point is to be like, here, I'm going to present her with this and let's see how she answers it. Because, like, she should be able to just be like what? Like, she fights him on fucking everything. And it doesn't help her. It certainly doesn't help her. And I think she'd probably be a lot better off if she was like, yeah, that's me. You know what I mean? But I think that's the point of starting with this, is to just kind of show the jury how disinclined she is to answer even basic questions, honestly.
I was talking with them.
Does it
Okay.
appear that you're talking with them in
No.
this frame?
That looks like they've walked away.
Right. As a matter of fact, it looked like they walked away without talking to you outside, correct?
Well, do you have video of moments before that when I was standing talking to them?
Well, see, this is the point where I get to ask the questions and you get to answer.
Oh boy.
So I'm
Okay.
asking you, do you see yourself
It's just
standing in the
She's
parking
just
lot
getting
after
warmed up.
John and the person to his right had walked away?
Yes.
Okay. Let's play it for just a few more seconds.
very true, Oksana. You guys are all very in tune with what's happening.
And what do you appear to be doing at that point?
Walking to my car.
Okay, so you turned around and left after Mr. O'Keefe and the person to his right walked away, correct?
Correct.
As you sit here, even though the video leaves a little to be desired,
Yeah.
you know that John O'Keefe left with Karen, correct?
And I think
Yes.
part of that too is because remember, she's Pratt. You think about it, having testified already in several grand juries, and she's very coached. You can tell that all of these witnesses have been very prepared. I mean, we know this because they've met with we hear that it comes out how much they've met with everybody. And again, they've testified in all these different grand jury proceedings already. So that's the thing, right? Because it's like you can have memorized the correct answers or whatever, right? You can have memorized how you can say like, oh, can you refresh my recollection and whatnot and all these strategies. But yeah, seeing it is definitely different especially when you've got prepared answers, right?
The person to his right, the more petite person with the long hair, that would be Karen.
I would assume.
Okay, so you waited out in the parking lot for a few minutes after you said or joked, "You're coming with me," or something like that, correct?
No, I was speaking to them and then I walked to my car.
You didn't say to Mr. O'Keefe, "You're coming with me." You said to Karen Reed, "You're coming with me," or something to that effect, correct?
Mr. O'Keefe was not outside when I said to Karen, "You're coming with me."
Oh, that's
I told Karen,
I must have been putting more hair products in my hair at this point because I didn't actually see Karen's response here. And this is interesting because she doesn't usually show a whole lot of movement, but I'm going to rewind it a second because I hadn't noticed. She actually looks like she's nodding or disagreeing. Like, hold on.
So Mr. O'Keefe,
Things are
"You're coming
happening.
with me." you said to Karen Reed, you're coming with me, or something to that effect, correct?
Mr. O'Keefe was not outside when I said to Karen, you're coming with me. I told Karen, you're coming with me because John was still in the bar with Matt.
So you asked Karen to come with you in your car,
Yes,
to give her a ride,
yes,
separate from John O'Keefe.
yes. I figured he could go with Matt because they were still in the bar.
Was there a reason why you wanted to separate Miss Reed from Mr. O'Keefe at that moment?
No,
Why not just walk to your car with Matt and go where you're going to go?
Matt was still inside.
So you thought it was important enough to make the statement, you're coming with me, or something to that effect, to my client, to separate her from John O'Keefe, even though your testimony is John O'Keefe was just inside
I
the bar.
thought that John was also outside with her, but it sounds like they're saying he wasn't. She was by herself. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, honestly, I tend to not, I'll be honest, when it shows her, I tend to actually like avert my eyes just because I do with, but that was the one time where, I didn't, and I guess maybe her expression seemed a little bit different. So I didn't feel it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't a conscious thought. It was just, I didn't look away like I usually would. That's right. The face allergy. Yes, Kitsmas. I'm not trying to be rude. It's nothing. It's not about, it's distracting. Usually the face, and again, I'm not blaming. I'm not, it has nothing to do with what I think. I think I have no opinion at all whatsoever of her because we don't know anything about her. It's usually it's a distracting. And I guess in this case, it wasn't actually distracting. So I didn't look away and it was subconscious. Hi, Black Witter. Happy you're here. Yay. So yes, the face emoji, but yes, I don't even know what I was saying, but yes, yeah, I mean, that for sure it could be, but it was interesting. It was just, and it doesn't show her that often. So, which is great for me. Right. But it was just the first time I actually had noticed it. I noticed her face and I was looking at it, right? You guys.
Objection.
Sustained as to that form. Ask it differently.
Sure.
I like her
Did you
top
believe it was important at that point
her dress.
to ask Miss Reed to come with you, which would separate
Hey,
her
we
from
love
John
you.
O'Keefe?
There was never any idea of separating them.
Except for the fact the idea was you're coming with me, not you two are coming.
Right.
With
Oh,
me.
I know what I was saying. So I thought that we heard from the colloquies and maybe even saw in the video that it was her with, I just clapped. That was me. Her with John. And then, Jen comes waltzing on over. But now we're hearing that John wasn't out there. I thought they were both out there. I thought we saw them walk out together. I don't know. Do you guys remember? Yeah, it is a nice dress. I think it's the kind too that has those kind of flared sleeves. From what I can tell, the like bell sleeves kind of, which I love. And again, with violin, there's certain things that I would love to wear that I never have worn because a sleeve like that would just get in the way. I wonder, Kitsmits, you might have the same type of thing with piano. I mean, I don't know. Are you funny about your wrists and what type of things you put on them? Exactly. I thought so too, Candace. Yeah, I thought so too. I thought we saw that. So I don't know. We'll see.
Correct?
Incorrect.
By definition,
Right, that's what I thought.
she came with you.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And so why is Jen saying that John wasn't out there? What? Yeah, okay. Same thing. Yep. Yeah. I only have a couple rings and they're very specific. They're where I don't notice them and they don't rub against the other fingers. But yeah, nothing. And see, you probably don't have the same issue with ears and neck. Oh, of course you don't. Piano. Yeah, we also have ears and neck. So necklaces and earrings are a thing too. Yeah, they were on camera. Right. Okay. So I'm not crazy. Good.
You'd be separating her from John, wouldn't you?
We were standing outside
My question would
talking.
be answered yes or no. By definition, your statement to her, you come with me, would separate her from John, wouldn't it?
It would not because we were all going back to Fairview Road.
But not at the same time, ma'am, correct? Your idea was to bring Karen with you, separate and apart from John.
Shall we go back? Let's go back. We'll go back and we'll hear it. We'll just because we all want to know. We all have the same type of thing where we like to actually know things. So let's do it. Let's do this the right way and let's go back.
You're coming with me to Karen.
No.
You didn't say that.
Not exactly those words.
What exactly were the words that you used?
I said, why don't you come with me?
And you even waited outside in what was ultimately freezing cold temperatures for mistreatment, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now do you see a person?
Yes.
The lighting is terrible. I apologize. Not my video. Do you know who that person is?
I don't know.
That's you, isn't it?
I can't tell from that picture if that's me.
Okay, let's maybe play it a little bit further forward. Awesome. Now, with the flag out of the way, do you recognize anybody in the foreground down at the bottom right?
Okay, here.
That looks to be John.
Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
Do you see someone to his right?
I do, yes.
And who is that person?
I cannot make her out.
It's
make it out in the
Karen.
photo.
That's why.
Play it forward.
That's why. Because it's Karen and she says that. Okay.
And pause. You see the person with the sort of white shoes just above the car.
Yes.
Does that appear to be you?
I can't make that out that it's me, but I know I was there and I know I spoke with them.
Okay, so you do recall walking outside and sort of waiting and hovering in about that area, correct?
I was talking with them.
Okay. Does it appear that you're talking with them in
No.
this frame?
That looks like they've walked away.
Right. As a matter of fact, it looked like they walked away without talking to you outside, correct?
Well, do you have video of moments before that
Oh,
when I was standing talking to them?
Well, see, this is the point where I get to ask the questions and you get to answer. So I'm
Okay.
asking you, do you see yourself standing in the parking lot after John and the person to his right had walked away?
Yes.
Okay. Let's play it for just a few more seconds. Go ahead and pause. And what do you appear to be doing at that point?
Yeah.
Walking to my car.
Okay, so you turned around and left after Mr. O'Keefe and the person to his right.
Yeah. Okay. So here, let me say. So here's what I think. It was from Korean and Kalakithis. I mean, I remember them saying that, like, John and Karen walk out together of the bar, right? Or no, Karen does walk out. Hold on. No, Karen walks out with the girls because they're all linked in arms, right? Okay. But John comes out and joins her, is what's happening. And then they walk off together. So it's kind of both in that they don't walk out together, John and Karen, but John walks out. Right. Okay. Actually, I can remember it in the video now. Okay. Let me see if I can refresh y'all's memory because I don't have the clip saved to where I can just pull it up in terms of this video footage. Okay. But you see the three girls leaving. They're all linked arms. And then you see John right behind them follow. He picks up the glass, right? Like a glass from the table and like takes a sip out of it and then walks out with the glass right behind them. And then you see him leave. So he's right behind them. But the difference is this, is that Jen splits off to the right and goes that direction. Karen stays to the left out of view towards her car. And then John, we see him walk out and then he goes to join her. Again, I'm saying to the left as in if you look at the car on the screen, like to the left of that car. And then Jen is to the right of that car. And then she walks over and then tries to separate them. I think that's what it is. And I agree that what the part that matters is the issue she takes with it. Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Oksana says, to be fair, if I'm drinking, I want to hang out with the girlies. So come with me to a girlfriend wouldn't be unreasonable. Yeah, that's true. Very fair. I love this. I love y'all's perspective because you're right. But just say that. Absolutely. 100%. Yep. That it wouldn't be so weird were it not for the way she is making it weird. 100%. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. The only thing I will say though, to that end, is that I think that we wouldn't have felt also like it was weird if it wasn't for, you could tell, like Karina Kolakithis, she came across as just like really relatable and genuine. And you could tell she thought it was weird. Like if you go back and watch her testimony, her eyes, it gives me goosebumps now just thinking about it. You could tell she was getting goosebumps because it gave me goosebumps watching it. And even in hindsight, thinking about it now, it gives me goosebumps. Like her eyes got weird. It was like she could perceive there was something off when she was thinking about that memory. And it was the only time her voice got kind of, I don't know, it's interesting. So I think that had she not talked about it like that, it would have not, I mean, again, it wouldn't have seemed like anything unusual, but I still, even what y'all are saying, it absolutely makes sense that it wouldn't, so I guess I'm just adding to it. Like, it wouldn't have been weird were it not for the way Jen is handling it, but also I think the way that Karina described it, the vibe she gave, at least to me, came across as like, you could tell her gut feeling was like something's up, and then I could pick up on that kind of. Right, Kid Smits. I agree. Yeah, it's true. Karina seems like the type of one I'm gonna hang out with. Jen, not so much. Yep, same. Yeah, it's 100%.
Walking away, correct?
Correct.
As you sit here, even though the video leaves a little to be desired, you know that John O'Keefe left with Karen, correct?
Yes,
So the person to his right, the more petite person with the long hair, that would be Karen.
I would assume.
Okay, so you waited out in the parking lot for a few minutes after you said or joked, "You're coming with me," or something like that, correct?
No, I was speaking to them, and then I walked to my car.
Yeah,
You didn't say,
it's weird though.
"Mr.
Her
O'Keefe, you're coming
defensive,
with me."
right?
You said to Karen,
I do wish we
"You're
could
coming
see
with me,"
her.
or something to that effect, correct?
Mr. O'Keefe was not outside when I said to Karen, "You're coming with me." I told Karen, "You're coming with me," because John was still in the bar with Matt.
So you asked Karen to come with you in your car,
Yes,
to give her a ride,
yes,
separate from John O'Keefe.
yes. I figured he could go with Matt because they were still in the bar.
Was there a reason why you wanted to separate Miss Reed from Mr. O'Keefe at that moment?
No,
Why not just walk to your car with Matt and go where you're going to go?
Matt was still inside.
Yeah.
So you thought it was important enough.
See, this is the point where what y'all are saying makes a lot of sense. Where if there was nothing to it, she could just say that, and she could just say, "Yeah, we wanted to have girl time." Done. Her answer is sussy though, right?
To make the statement, "You're coming with me," or something to that effect, to my client, to separate her from John O'Keefe, even though your testimony is John O'Keefe was just inside the bar.
Objection.
Sustained as to that form. Ask it differently.
Sure. Did you believe it was important at that point to ask Miss Reed to come with you, which would separate her from John O'Keefe?
There was never any idea of separating them.
Except for the fact the idea was, "You're coming with me," not "you two are coming with me," correct?
Incorrect.
By definition, if she came with you, you'd be
Yeah,
separated
again-
from John, wouldn't you?
Again, there, yeah.
We were standing outside talking.
That's not a great point because, like, see, the only thing that would make sense there, if the girl time thing would be a really reasonable way to explain that, but she doesn't say
Okay.
that.
Be answered yes or no. By definition, your statement to her, "You come with me," would separate her from John, wouldn't it?
Would not, because we were all going back to Fairview Road.
Now remember,
Same.
I don't know if you guys heard this, but and I'm reiterating this for myself too. I'm orienting in the timeline because the prosecution doesn't give us a timeline. That we were talking about in the previous stream just before this, that on direct there about how when Jen is describing what happened when Karen calls her the next morning, that Karen says something about how, according to Jen, that Karen says something about how they got into a big fight and she doesn't know what happened. And the big fight thing is so interesting because we're seeing some of the last moments, potentially, that John O'Keefe is alive, because they're leaving at what, 12:14, I believe it is, right there that we were seeing. And, you know, it's within 5 minutes or so, they're all headed to the house. And we know that, and we're going to hear about this more specifically in this cross, about the specifics of what phone calls or communications between John and Jen potentially are legit versus not legit. But it seems like they were headed over with the rest of the group. And it's hard to say when they arrived because of all obvious reasons, right? I don't think we actually know for sure. Although I remember that the defense said when they were crossing, was it Brother Nagel? It came out, and I pointed it out when it happened, that it came out because Alan Jackson's on cross, and he actually, I think that probably Lally meant to object, and he didn't object, but came out because he actually says something like, "We know they arrived at 12:30," and the objection would have been facts, not in evidence, but there was no objection. But that comes out And I made note of it. So if we go with that, 12:30, but let's say that they were trying to find the house and they couldn't find the house because they hadn't been there before. Still, it's not a lot of time to get in a big fight, right? And especially when we know that when they were leaving, when they were at the bar, when they were leaving, they were affectionate, they were lovey-dovey. Says everybody. Also says everybody, they were not shit-faced, they were not drunk, they were not even intoxicated. They seemed fine and normal and everything was great. So I don't know. I asked this in the last one, and I don't know if anyone responded, but what do you guys think? Like, how much time would it take to get in a big fight? Like, what is the reasonable time frame to go from everything's great? You know, I know it depends on the couple, but yeah, that's another thing that would be plausible for sure. Good point, Candace. Jen is the last person I would want to tell. And great point. Very great point, Candace. Yeah, same here. According to Jen, Karen said, right. Yeah, yes, thank you. Yes. Oh, that's another good point. Right, because she did say that Karen said she left John at the waterfall. And you know what's interesting? See, that brings up another point. What's interesting is that Jen's response to that is to say, Jen's response to that isn't to say, but Karen, I saw you guys leave together. Right? This is actually might be really important. Her response is, but Karen, you were at the house. Let me say that again. You're right. This is a good point, because Karen says she thought she left John at the waterfall. Why is no one bringing this up? Because literally that footage, we're caught up on this footage, which not that it doesn't matter, but with her Jen trying to separate them. But what isn't the bigger point that she sees them leaving together? Because she even says that she assumes they're going to Karen's car. And then sorry, hold on. Let me back up. She actually says, and so does Karina Kolakithis, say they see them get into Karen's car. They see that. So how come Jen's response to Karen when Karen calls her, if Karen, according to Jen, says she thought she left him at the waterfall, why wouldn't Jen say, but I saw you guys leave the waterfall together? That is really fucking interesting that instead she says, but I saw you at the house. Because that doesn't make any sense. It makes more sense if the thing that Karen's confused about or wrong about is about the waterfall, that you would address the waterfall, right? Does that make sense? I don't know. Because technically it's like, well, okay, legally speaking, Jen's response to Karen is like non-responsive in a way, because technically they both could have been at the house and gotten there separately. So it doesn't actually address Karen's concern that she left him at the waterfall. However, them living together does address that concern, right? DSN used that same word, mercurial, which is interesting that you guys both used that word. I've never heard that from other people ever in my life, probably, I would say. Maybe Shakespeare. I think Jen's response about seeing them at the house is more because her husband just reminded her. Yeah, potentially, but still, though. I mean, I feel like you would say, well, we saw you guys leave the waterfall and then we saw you at the house. It just, if you're going off of memory, right, you go, like, it works chronologically. So I don't know. That's just, I guess, to me, how I would see it. Like if her memory that she's saying she doesn't remember starts from the waterfall and you're trying to remember to help her, you would go chronological. Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it. I mean, I'd forgotten about that. So that's valid. But yeah, I think we talked more about that when it was Matt's testimony.
Time, ma'am, correct? Your idea is to bring Karen with you, separate and apart from John.
We were waiting for John to come out, and I said, why don't you just come with me? It was innocent.
Now, man, holy shit.
You'll get to that with Mr. Lally.
Oh, you saw him say that. Okay.
There's no answer.
That's brilliant. Shout out to DSN. I wish you were here. I don't know why he's not here, but shout out to DSN. Yeah. Okay. You know what? Says a lot about you that you admit that, but also it just shows, shout out to DSN too.
By
That's all.
definition, your invitation would separate Karen from John, would it not?
Objection.
Right over.
Sustained. Move
Love
on.
DSN.
Would it or would it not separate John and Karen for the ride over?
Objection.
Sustained.
Look pissed, y'all. Look
Now,
at
when
her.
you arrived at Fairview,
Oh my God. That was interesting too. She was doing that thing where it's like as if she's chewing gum, but she's not chewing gum.
some folks were already there, correct?
Yes.
Who was already there?
Oh, dude. Y'all, the way she says yes. Like an obstinate teenager. Holy shit. Let's watch that again. That is something else. You don't see that every day.
Some folks were already there, correct?
Yes.
Who was already there?
Wow.
Brian Higgins, Brian Albert,
Wow.
Nicole Albert, Caitlin Albert,
She's now, I think,
Julie Nay.
I think her stance on this now, like for the rest of this cross today, is she is now in a fight. She's gonna fight him. That's it. Her goal, whatever her goal was before, which is supposed to be to answer the questions, whole truth, nothing but the truth. Her only objective now, I think, is to fight.
Goal, Sarah Levinson, and Brian Albert Jr.
And then you arrived, as we saw, you walked through the parking lot, got in your car, you arrived, I presume, with your husband, Matt McCabe.
Yes, correct.
I want to ask a question about Mr. Higgins.
Oh, Higgly Wiggly Wiggins.
You found on Friday that you saw his vehicle
Brian Albert Sr.'s
when you
lover.
got to the scene, correct?
Yes.
And you said that it was pulled up a little bit in front of the mailbox, correct?
Yes.
Oh boy. Let's talk about that, shall we?
This would be the front door, correct?
Yes.
One of them.
Where's the mailbox? If you can point to it with the laser pointer.
Hey, now.
Okay, so you're pointing to an area just in front of a car that's in the driveway, correct?
Yes.
And then the driveway's to the right,
Yes.
and then along this line is the front lawn area and property line of 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that that Jeep was just a little bit in front of the mailbox, meaning
This is the picture, y'all. Remind me, this is the picture that's not real, correct? Because I remember hearing EDB say this really early on in the trial. But I'm just remembering, like, I'm thinking of it now too, because I feel like this is not a real picture. But I'm telling you, because I put all these videos together and I've also used pictures for the various things, right? Like the maps and the intro. And it's really surprising and defies the mind of how, unless this is a real picture, of how there does not exist a regular, just straight on picture of the house. Like all the pictures of the house are fucking weird. Like all of them, like they're all at a weird angle or whatever. Like there's just not a straight on picture of the house somehow, unless this is a real picture, but I don't think it is. And it is very odd. Like, why do we not have a regular
there,
picture?
correct?
Yes.
And the rear end of that Jeep would
Super
be
Planner Girl made it. Oh my God.
butting up against the driveway,
Yay.
Yes.
Yay.
or at
You've got
least
a
the
smart one.
line of the driveway,
I think
correct?
it's all Dallas
Yes.
right
That's-
now. That.
Quite a bit of detail about where that Jeep
Yeah,
was.
do you guys remember? Is this the picture? Because I know there is a picture that they say early on. They're like, this is graphic representation, and then they say it enough times to where I guess they feel like they don't need to say it anymore, which is fine. Do you guys remember if that's this picture? I feel like it might be, because it almost looks a little bit too neat, like the snow, but I don't know. But yeah, it is weird that there's just not a straight on actual real
Do
picture.
you agree?
We love you, Super Planner Girl.
No, because I drove down the street and I took a
Sorry.
left into the driveway and there was a Jeep there.
I didn't see your
What I'm
hand.
asking is, you didn't just say, your memory was not just somewhere in front of the
Good
house.
point,
It's
Oksana.
literally right in front of the mailbox, the
Mhm.
front end of it, adjoining the line of the driveway, correct?
We need
Yes,
That detail obviously
Twitter.
stuck out in your mind.
it did because I was wondering whose Jeep it was.
Did you discuss that detail with your husband at any point?
Not sure.
Okay, first of all, did she mention a snowplow? Because how do you not? First of all. Second of all, Black Widow said she would be here in a few, and DSN was here in the earlier stream, and then he went away, and same with Wifey. And then we had a couple other people, but anyway, hopefully we will have some of our more other friends join us. But yes, we've got a really good group of people here, and yeah, but the snowplow though.
You're not sure? Might have.
I'm not sure if I said, whose Jeep is that?
No, I don't mean then. I mean between then and now, have you and Mr. McCabe ever discussed where that Jeep was, or your memories of where that Jeep was?
Oh boy.
Possibly.
You're aware that he put the Jeep in the exact same place that you did.
Objection.
Are you aware of that?
I am.
The thing, here's what she should say. What she should say is, what you're failing to recognize, good sir, is that this particular Jeep has magic powers. You see, it can disappear, it can rematerialize, it can vaporize, it can float, it can swim. Oh, and also it can become a rocket ship. I don't know. It's just going along with the joke about the ghost Jeep, and you know, this Jeep is a special Jeep. That's what we know.
Oh, wait, no. Excuse me. Repeat the question?
You're aware that he puts the Jeep
Yeah, for sure.
in the exact same spot you just put it. Right
It's
in front
inside
that
of her car.
I know he knows where the Jeep was. I'm not aware what he said in here.
Does he know where the Jeep was
Yeah.
because you told him what to say about the Jeep?
Absolutely not. It's because we drove together in the car, and I asked. I possibly could have asked.
One at a time, please, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on your words. I thought you.
That's okay. You can continue.
Bitch. Hold on, guys. That's where I dropped. Hold on. That's where I dropped my fucking hair dryer. Let me back that up a second. I was like, you guys, there's words I never say. Even in my mind, there's words I never say. Those words came out watching her on cross this very day, as I was drying my hair. It took me way longer than usual to dry my hair because I had to keep stopping to watch and to curse at the TV. Y'all, this moment right here, I was livid. The attitude, I've never seen this.
Was because you told him what to say about the Jeep?
Absolutely not. It's because we drove together in the car, and I asked. I possibly could have asked.
One at a time, please, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on your words. I thought you.
That's okay. You can continue.
Thank you.
Fucking no. Dude, y'all, it is too... Her face, you guys, I'm thinking of a word worse than bitch. You guys, it's a word I don't... And in other countries, it's perfectly fine, but it's not usually accepted. It's not a word that ever comes into my brain. I don't know. It comes into my brain. I'll just watch this
because you told him what to say about the Jeep?
Absolutely not. It's because we drove together in the car, and I asked. I possibly could have asked.
One at a time, please, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on your words. I thought you.
That's okay. You can continue.
Oh, I hate her so much. She's like, because I said so. Y'all, bitch isn't good enough here. It's just not. Because sometimes you can use bitch like a funny, but like it's funny, or it's like your friend, like you're my bitch. Like, I don't know. People, it has a lot of different meanings. This is like on another level for me. It's hard to explain. I feel like it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I get some vibes though. That's all.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I don't think we got your answer, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Madam Court Reporter was asking for your answer.
I do love that because now she can't just, now she has to, I love that. I know Judge Bev isn't trying to help out the defense, but I love that happened.
To the question of, did he know where the Jeep was?
Whether or not you told him.
I agree, Candace.
I do not need to tell Matt where the Jeep is. He knew because we were in the car together.
Candace, yes. Also, let's watch that one more time for Black Widow, who just joined us. We love you so much. Here's a present for you. What do you think of this? What do you think of this scenario here? Let me go back to you. Look at her face. That's funny. Okay.
I am. Oh, wait. No. Excuse me. Repeat the question?
You're aware that he puts the Jeep in the exact same spot you just put the Jeep, right in front of that mailbox, right?
I know he knows where the Jeep was. I'm not aware what he said in here.
Does he know where the Jeep was because you told him what to say about the Jeep?
Absolutely not. It's because we drove together in the car and I asked. I possibly could have asked.
One at a time, please, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on your words. I thought you
That's okay. You can continue.
Oh, Black Witter. What do you think? Sorry, Best Witter. Let's one more time that last bit. This is what we were just talking
was
about.
because you told him what to say about the Jeep?
Absolutely not. It's because we drove together in the car and I asked. I possibly could have asked.
One at a time, please, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on your words. I thought you
That's okay. You can continue.
Ugh, I hate it so much. Is it officially her birthday? I thought it was almost. Happy birthday, though, if it is officially your birthday, or if it's tomorrow. Maybe it depends on where you are in the world. 100%, Oksana, yes. Yes, because totally you get the idea. You know what? It's so funny because there's that comment that he makes about being in the bar and things are great in the bar or whatever, that as soon as she took the stand on and she was on cross, I was like, oh, totally different. I have a totally different interpretation of that now because like this is his life. Yes. Happy birthday, Black Witter. See Discord? Let me see. I can't type my passcode in properly. Hold on. Okay. I'm sorry about that, Black Witter. That's too bad. Maybe she should get into a fight with Jen McCabe and see who comes out on top, huh? Is there anything we can do to cheer you up? We'll do anything to cheer you up.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I don't think we got your answer, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Madam Court Reporter is asking for your answer.
Can you repeat your answer?
To the question of did he know where the Jeep was? I did not need to tell Matt where the Jeep is. He knew because we were in the car together.
But you two discussed it.
When are you asking?
At any time between January 29th and today.
I'm sure we have, yes.
You were also interviewed by Trooper Proctor on January 29th.
Wow, that was
2022,
another
correct?
good face.
Yes.
She's full.
And you were
she's
asked
not at a
a
loss.
series of open-ended questions. What did you see and where did you see it? Correct?
Yes.
Nobody put any words in your mouth.
No.
Nobody told you what to say at that time.
No.
And you told Trooper Proctor that when you arrived at the scene, after you got there, you, quote, first observed the vehicle, meaning Miss Reed's SUV, parked on the street
I know.
by the driveway facing the direction of Chapman. Correct?
See, and this matters again because it was the thing that I thought of that I hadn't thought of before was how the fact that they leave together should matter, right? In this trial where allegedly Karen says she left him at the waterfall and there's witnesses that saw them leave together.
Do you have something I can look at to refresh my memory?
Sure. Do you have that, does that refresh your recollection?
Yes, I know I told.
All I'm asking you, I'm so sorry to do this, I don't mean to be rude. I'm just asking you, does that or does that not refresh your recollection?
Regarding?
What you
Oh my
said to
God.
Trooper Proctor on the 29th.
Well, I know what I said to Proctor Trooper on the 29th.
Okay.
Y'all, okay. I remember when I was putting this video together, I loved this part. Listen to how many times she gets his name wrong. She really has a hard time with this part. Here, let's listen again.
Do you have that, does that refresh your recollection?
Yes, I know I told.
All I'm asking you, I'm so sorry to do this, I don't mean to be rude. I'm just asking you, does
Smile.
that or does that not refresh your
Wow,
recollection?
y'all.
Regarding?
What you said to Trooper
Oh
Proctor
my
on the 29th.
God.
Well, I know what I said to Proctor Trooper on the 29th.
Okay. I have to do it this way, it's court rules.
Mm-hmm.
Does that help you with your recollection of what you told Trooper Proctor?
I didn't tell I told Trooper Proctor the car was outside when I looked at the front door and was straight outside.
Okay, I can't quite get the answer I'm looking for. The court is going to require me to ask this question again. Does that refresh your recollection, yes or no, as to what you told Trooper Proctor? Yes.
I did not say this to Trooper Proctor, no.
It doesn't help you.
No.
Okay, may I approach?
Yes.
So you did speak to Trooper Proctor on the 29th, correct?
Correct.
Right. And Trooper Proctor asked you some very specific questions about where things were, correct?
Correct.
Focused on Miss Reed's SUV, didn't he? Asked you questions about where Miss Reed's SUV
If you
was.
can show me in the report.
Just read it.
So just off of what I just read, is that what you're going?
Oh my God. So part of the thing is that, again, these guys have been coached a lot and they've done a lot of testifying by this point. They have learned that if they look at a document, we saw this with Colin Albert, point blank. He didn't even try to hide it. Point blank, where they hand them, they say, they're like, oh, well, let's refresh your memory. And they're like, yes, please. And then they read it. And then they're like, is your memory refreshed? And then they're like, no, it's not refreshed. Or in Colin Albert's case, he said it was refreshed. And then he asked him the question. And he was like, no, it wasn't refreshed. This is Jen McCabe. I know it's hard to see right now because of the lighting. It's on the top there in white. So part of it is blocked by the light. I'll type it in the chat here. We had already watched some of her on direct while you were here. Now she's on cross. This is from just a few days ago. And this is, do you remember Matt McCabe? It's his wife. Matt McCabe was the witness right before her in the recap situation. The dude with the Blackwood, remember the dude whose forehead you liked and he had the really white teeth? That's her husband.
Off of, yes?
I'm asking for your memory. You're testifying.
Yes, so my memory is exactly where the car was.
Hold on.
Yes.
So it's very important that both of you, one person at a time, speaks.
Okay.
Madam Court Reporter has to do what you're both saying, and she can't do it simultaneously. So the best way to do that is, Ms. McCabe, just let counsel ask the question
Okay.
and then you answer. And if it takes a lot more time than we expect it to take, it does.
Okay.
So just
Thanks.
go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll slow it
Yeah,
down.
the court reporter has eyeliner on today.
Did you talk to Trooper Proctor about where the SUV was?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And he asked you questions about where it was situated outside, correct?
Yes.
And you told him that you first observed it parked on the street by the driveway facing the direction of Chapman, correct?
I told him that when I looked out the front door, the car was straight ahead. And yes, it was facing up Chapman.
But you left out a little part by the driveway, correct?
That could have been his interpretation or an error on his part.
I see. So Trooper
You read my mind, Super Planner Girl. By the way, I said in the earlier stream, I don't think you were here, that I've been so freaking busy. I haven't even looked at my text messages, but in case you've texted me, I'm sorry, I haven't read them yet. I have had a crazy, insane, yesterday and today have been insane. But you read my mind because I was just thinking, oh shit. As soon as I said the thing about Blackwater complimenting Matt McCabe's forehead, I was like, oh fuck, we didn't do a compliment on her. And I was like, do I need to pause it and do the compliment thing? I guess I probably should. I was like weighing that decision in my mind when I saw this. So we were on the same page here, that your compliment was that, because this is the next day. But yes, so previously Super Planner Girl had given a compliment, as we've been doing with each witness. Her compliment for Jen McCabe when Jen McCabe was on direct was that she had a blazer that matched her surroundings. I love. It's a great compliment. But she's changed clothes. So do we need a new one now? I guess we do. Yeah, just busy. Just busy. Yes, just busy. Very busy with lots of stuff. And I've had family needing to get in touch with me with stuff, and I had a couple people inquire for new lessons. I had a couple students get new violins. I've been teaching. And just like a bunch of, just busy. So I just wanted to let you know that I haven't even opened my text messages apart from like my students and my mom, because, things. So yeah, but we need a new compliment for her, huh? I'll let you guys see if you can come up with anything.
Proctor is wrong about what you said.
Objection.
No, I'll let him have it. Do you think he's wrong about what you said?
I 100% said it was straight out the front door.
Okay, next question,
Thank
please.
you, Your Honor. And during the course of that conversation, you never once, Ms. McCabe, not once, mentioned
But she's scary.
a several-ton Jeep with a snowplow attached to it, did you?
With the snow. Oh my God, you guys.
I-
We're getting to the best part. We're getting to the alligator part. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Blah, 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 blah. I forgot until now. Yes, I forgot. This is legendary right here. This is some legendary. I love this with all of my heart because one of my favorite animals is a crocodile. And I know an alligator is different, but still.
I'm not sure if I did or not.
Let's take another look at the report. We'll
Thank you,
refresh your
Wonder.
recollection to see the report.
Thank you.
Objection.
Half credit for that.
Do you think that will help you?
I'll take a look at it.
Okay, it's right after this. Right after she refreshes her
That looks
recollection.
like
Or
a
doesn't.
report from Trooper Proctor of your interview, correct?
Correct.
That interview was taken on January 29th, correct?
Correct.
That interview was taken just a few hours, not days or weeks, hours after the events in question, correct?
Correct.
And you were asked what
Yeah.
you saw, what you observed in front of 34th
Bones.
Fairview on that morning, correct? I'm sorry, the night before, correct?
He asked specific questions about Miss Reed's
Get
vehicle.
ready.
Okay. And when you said where you remember Miss Reed's vehicle being, you placed it in the exact spot where you're now saying there was a Jeep with a snowplow on it, correct?
Incorrect. I never placed Miss Reed's car in the spot where
Y'all are amazing.
Mr. Higgins' vehicle was.
So as Trooper Proctor was taking notes about what you were saying,
Wow, wow.
he just got it wrong.
You'd have to ask Trooper Proctor.
I will. And you never mentioned, according to that report,
gross.
not one word about a Jeep, right?
I may never have been asked about a Jeep.
So if you weren't asked about a Jeep,
Ha.
you also weren't asked about a Nissan Altima. Mention that?
Here we go, guys. Get ready.
No.
Right. Because what he asked you was, what did you observe in front of the house? Ma'am, that's what he asked you, wasn't it?
No.
And you said, I observed her car by the mailbox.
No.
And you never mentioned the Jeep, did you?
You are not portraying what the conversation was.
What's funny is she starts with that, and a little bit later in Cross, she actually just doesn't even mince her words, and she's like, "You are," what does she say? Twisting my word, y'all. I've never in my life heard anyone like this on Cross. Yes, correct. He did. He said, "I will." Yes, he did say, "I will." But we're about to get to the best part. One of the best
Or
parts.
did you not mention a Jeep sitting on that, right by that driveway to Trooper Proctor? Yes or no?
It's not in the report. I don't recall if he asked me about a Jeep.
Bitch.
Now,
Sorry.
following the
I'm not sorry.
events of January
Sorry.
28th,
I'm sorry
29th,
because bitch is too nice.
you spoke extensively to Chris and Julie Albert, correct?
What do you mean by extensively?
Did you speak at all?
Oh my God, you guys.
Yes, we did.
Between then and now.
Oh
So
my God,
Chris-
her face when she says the extensively. Let's watch that again.
Asked me about a Jeep.
Now, following the events of January
Watch it
28th,
extensively.
29th,
Extensively.
you spoke extensively to Chris and Julie Albert, correct?
What do you mean by extensively?
Did you speak at all?
Yes, we did.
Between then and now.
Do you need
to
a
Chris and Julie
flashlight?
Do I speak to Chris and Julie Albert
Have you spoken to them about these events between then and now?
about this case? Is that what you're asking?
You know, they all do that. You know why they all do that? They all do that. This is how you know they've probably not even probably, they've talked about this entire thing together, B, been coached, because they all do this. Whenever they hear somebody, the defense attorney say this case, they use it as an opportunity to try to be like, can you clarify, so they can try to sneak in this thing about the harassment. It's so gross.
Yes, Ms. McCabe, I'm asking
Transparent.
about this case.
Of course, I speak to them all the time about the vicious harassment we are all receiving.
There it is.
That wasn't my question. My question was, did you talk to them
I
about
hate
this
her.
case, Ms. McCabe?
Yes.
I realize you want to give additional answers in editorial. I'm asking you very specific questions.
Objection.
Okay, so objection as to the form. We've talked about this at sidebar, Mr. Jackson.
How come she doesn't get scolded?
You've talked to them
though?
about the
For
details
real.
of that night, correct?
Scold her.
The 28th going into the morning of the 29th.
Yes.
You've talked to them about what happened at the bar. correct?
We've spoke about how we were all at the bar and Karen and John came in.
Is that yes or no?
Yes,
Okay, you've spoken to them about
Mother of
your
God.
memory of what
Mother of
happened
God.
at the house at 34 Fairview that night, correct?
yes,
You've spoken to them about who was at the bar, not just what happened, but who was there, correct?
correct.
You talked to them about the timing of the night, correct?
I don't think specifically, no.
When people came to the bar, when they left, when people got to Fairview, when they left Fairview, things of that nature.
Well, they were at the bar, so they know who was there and when they left.
Didn't ask
That's
if
not
you
his
know
question.
what they know. I'm asking if you've ever spoken to them about these issues. Yes or no?
I can't be sure if we've spoken about the timeline.
And you've talked to them about when they got there and when they left.
I have no idea when they arrived at the waterfall.
Once again, Ms. McCabe, that's not what my question was. Do you understand my question? Have you spoken to them about their memory of that night and when they came and left?
Yes. Blackwater, yes. Yes.
They
What
have not shared with me when they got
Wait, what was that? Let's back that up. That's interesting stuff.
the waterfall.
Once again, Ms. McCabe, that's not what my question was. Do you understand my question? Have you spoken to them about their memory of that night and when they came and left?
They have not shared with me when
Ew,
they got there
Why that sound?
or
That's
when they left.
gross.
In the 2 years or 2.5 years since this event, you've had extensive conversations with your friends and family about this circumstance, correct? That's fair to
Correct.
say.
Yes.
Weird.
You've
Very
told them
weird.
your observations of your story, correct?
Correct.
Your observations of the night,
Correct.
and they've told you their observations of the night, correct?
Correct.
So y'all have compared and contrasted your perspectives of what happened that night, correct?
We've tried to figure out what happened to John, our friend.
And you've talked to them extensively about your observations and what your story or your version is. Is that
I
right?
know.
To be honest, not extensively. Speaking about it is very painful and difficult.
What does extensively mean? More than twice?
Her face.
Well, you tell me.
Yeah, actually, Blackwater, I think you might have popped in when we watched her, her cross-examination happened live. I think you popped in for a little bit because I remember thinking that you used the word venom, and I thought that was so on point but this is the part of cross before that you haven't seen, we hadn't watched together yet. I
Asking
think.
the questions, Ms. McCabe. That's how this works.
I understand, but extensively would mean almost every day.
Oh my God, why are you
Almost
arguing
every day.
about this?
I do, but not about the case.
Subjects about this case.
I know, right?
Okay.
Me bullets.
The harassment of the case does, yes.
Bullets.
What about the specific facts of the case? Ms.
No,
McCabe?
it's the facts aren't spoken as much as the vicious harassment is spoken about.
Understood. So you've told them your version of the events, correct? And they've told you their version of the events.
Correct.
And remind me, Chris and Julie Albert are, in fact, Colin's parents.
Correct.
We love the full Irish.
At some point, you became
Love it.
aware that your daughter, Lally, was involved in this matter to some extent, correct?
Yes.
You became aware that there was an extraction of your phone that revealed some data about her whereabouts.
That's not how I became aware now.
Like 360?
Yes, I know what that is.
Okay, that's what I'm asking about. You became aware that you know your phone was extracted, correct?
I willingly handed over my phone.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
You know that your phone was extracted.
Oh.
Yes, I handed it over.
Yeah, Blackwater has to go full
You know
Irish.
that your daughter's
Representative
whereabouts
for Ireland.
were revealed based on data on that phone, correct?
That is not how I became aware of my daughter's whereabouts.
You testified at the state grand jury, questioning by Mr. Lally, correct?
Yes.
Absolutely.
You were asked about the Life 360.
Yes.
You answered those questions very fluidly.
Yes.
Yes, I know what Life 360 is. I use it all the time. It's an app, etc.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go over that for a second. You admitted that it works as a, quote, GPS as far as where people go and everywhere that you go, correct?
Correct.
You indicated that it works as a reliable quote-unquote tracking device, was your testimony.
Correct.
You indicated that you rely on it, quote, so you know where your kids are at all times. Is that right?
Correct.
And you even said that it's a quote-unquote good parenting tool. Is that right?
Correct.
And the reason you said that is because it's accurate in your experience and it's reliable. Is that right?
Oh boy.
It's a good tool, but it is not always accurate.
But you said, when you testified in front of the great grand jury, that it's accurate and it works as a GPS as far as where you go and everywhere you go, correct?
Objection.
Did you say that?
Why can't you
Can I
just
see it?
rule it?
Does that refresh your recollection?
It does, yes.
Oh
Question and
boy.
answer?
Well, I just don't see the word accurate on there. I don't know if I missed it.
Mr. Cade, does that refresh your recollection as to the question and answer about
Fucking
whether
hell.
you said
Oksana with a great point here. So I think you're probably right. But I agree. She looks even worse than she did in the tan. But yes, I think
it
someone
works
probably.
as sort of a GPS as far as where you go and everywhere that you go?
Correct.
And your answer was yeah. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Her face.
So where did Allie go after she supposedly dropped off Colin Albert?
She went nowhere.
Did you check her Life 360 app to verify that she went, quote, nowhere?
At that point, I had no reason to check her.
So the answer is no, you didn't.
No.
Okay.
Guys. Hang on, guys. I think, hold on. I love that you guys been texting the Discord, but I will read all of these and respond. But here's the thing. Because I was expecting this, because Dora said she was going to send help. Hold on. I think she sent, shall I play this, Dora? Shall I play it later? I was going to play this. I think it's how to pronounce me bullocks correctly. Shall I play it or shall I wait? Hold on. Let me know. I'll play the video until you answer.
Did you ever verify through the Life 360 app that in fact Allie did not go home, but rather was out driving until after 1:30 a.m.? You ever check the app and see that?
Did I ever check Life 360 app for that?
Yep.
No.
Okay. But you believed her when she said she came home.
Yes.
And just like you believed her when she said she picked up Colin, dropped him off, and then came home.
Yes.
Okay. The Alberts had a dog, pardon me, correct?
That was on purpose.
Yes.
What was the dog's name?
Chloe.
Had a dog. Love
You
it.
indicated that
Don't love that.
on the morning of January 29th, after 6 a.m., when it was still relatively dark out, you burst into the bedroom of Brian and Nicole Albert's home, correct?
Yes.
You did that specifically to wake up, according to you, Brian Albert and Nicole Albert, correct?
Yes.
Where was Chloe?
I don't know.
So you'll agree that, at least from their perspective, you walked in the front door unexpectedly, correct?
Yes.
You walked upstairs unexpectedly, correct?
Yes.
Still dark outside, right?
Yes.
You walked through their door, and you said you burst into the door into a dark room where they were sleeping, correct?
Yes.
Sorry, I just muted my mic so I could listen to this from Blackwater, and I'm just laughing. I'm gonna have to practice this to get it right, and then I will do it later for you guys. That is freaking hilarious, though. I love the slow-mo English version first, just like you would hear it on like a website. It's great.
Mr. Albert said that you were somewhat
You
hysterical.
know, right?
Would you agree with that?
Yes.
You were loud, right?
I was trying to wake them up.
You were somewhat chaotic.
Yes.
And you don't remember a 70-pound German Shepherd having any reaction.
No.
Matter of fact, you don't remember the dog being there at all, correct?
Correct.
You never saw that dog, correct?
I have no memory of seeing that dog.
So do you
as
guys think
sit
Chloe
here
was in the
today,
basement?
you cannot say that the dog was here because you don't have a memory of ever seeing it.
I
correct?
did not see it, no.
And
For anyone who missed it, okay, it dawned on me during one of the recaps. Trying to remember what spurred it on. I think it was when Matt McCabe was on stand, but all this talk about the houses being unlocked, right? The house is being unlocked and the lights don't work outside. Oh, no. Okay. No, it was when Brian Albert Sr. was on stand. I remember the lights don't work. And, there was like a couple other things that just didn't really add up when you have a big house and you're law enforcement. And it just didn't add up even before thinking about Chloe, because that didn't really come up in terms of her entering the house as much until now. But even before you get to Chloe, it didn't make any sense that someone would think it's a smart idea to come bursting in the middle of the night or really early in the morning screaming like that into a house, unlocked or not, even if you have a key, when it's law enforcement, whether or not, like, even if they don't have a German Shepherd, like, just, that's not, everyone knows that's like, you don't do that. You're not, because they're going to sleep with a gun next to them and whatnot, more than likely. But the way he was talking about it at the time, and I'm sure I timestamped it in the episode whenever it happened, because there was something funny about it. And it started to dawn on me. I was like, wait a second, what if she never left? Like, what if she was still there, or she left and came back, but they were expecting her? Like, or they went up to bed, and she left, but they were expecting her to come back, and she had a key or something. But none of it makes any sense. And yes, if they had a dog up there, the dog would have done something, right? I mean, at least barked. It's just, right, exactly. Like Frodo. Frodo barks out of excitement if people are walking up to the house or come in the house. See, they all describe it as the bedroom. She goes into the bedroom. Like, unless you're saying that that's what happened, but that they're lying about it. Like, but the way they all describe it is like she bursts into the bedroom. And the way that Brian Albert Sr. had described it was that Chloe was in the bedroom. But remember, he's fishy about where Chloe's located, because there's talk of her being on her bed, dog bed. And then there's something about her being in the closet. And that's a whole thing. But all of that is in the bedroom. So I think that either they waited up for her, or she left and came back, or she just never left. And then somebody in the chat actually was looking at this at the time with me, and we were talking about how potentially she could have been at the house, which this is really fucked, by the way, at the house when she got the call from Karen, and was like, pretending to not know where John was, and then went to go meet her. Good one. Right, exactly. Well, and also just that the dog reacting, right? Like, you may not know where the dog's location was, but there's a dog there because the dog barks. Or the dog comes over to you and wags its tail. Dog doesn't just ignore you. That just doesn't happen.
Remind me once again, when you were leaving that night, that early morning before, who was the last person to leave? Was Caitlin?
I believe she left after us.
We talked about this, and I want to get into a little bit more detail about it. You indicated that
you know what? That's the only solution here. Honestly. Bravo. You guys, we figured it out. Or rather, Black Litter did. Chloe made up the whole thing and set up the humans. Bravo. Yes, we can all go home. I love it.
Point, you looked
honestly, that makes as much sense as anything
outside
else.
And you saw Karen Reed's SUV in front of the house. Safe to say, correct?
Correct.
About what time was that you first saw it?
I can just give you maybe approximates. I know I texted when I saw them, so
I know.
whatever time that was.
Y'all.
All right, let's see if we can narrow that down just a little bit. You also
I know, right? It's just
indicated that you saw Ryan Nagel's vehicle
Brother
outside.
Nagel. Get his name right.
Saw lights.
Okay. Lights belonging
Brother
to
Nagel
the
to
vehicle,
you, sir.
right?
Yes, I knew there was another vehicle outside.
Shout out to Lori.
And where was that in relation to Miss Reed's vehicle?
Definitely watching
It was-
the live stream.
Behind it. I didn't pay much attention to it.
Okay, and where was the Jeep in relation to Ryan Nagel's vehicle and Karen Reed's SUV?
I remember seeing Karen Reed's SUV straight, and then I saw the lights of Ryan Nagel. I did not pay attention to where it was. I was just looking at Miss Reed's vehicle.
Was Ryan Nagel's vehicle and those lights that you remember, were they in front of the Jeep or behind the Jeep?
I am not certain.
Haven't you testified previously that you remember the Jeep being between Ryan Nagel's vehicle and the SUV?
Right? Okay. So good. Yes. You're welcome.
I am not certain where Ryan Nagel's vehicle was.
So as you sit here now, you don't know if it was in front of the Jeep as you placed it by the mailbox.
It would
Let me
be,
finish my question. Behind the Jeep or somewhere in between?
it definitely was not in front of the Jeep.
Definitely was not in front of the Jeep.
No.
So it was definitely behind the Jeep.
Behind or to the side, I'm not sure.
Well, if it's parked on the street in front of the house, it's not going to be beside the Jeep, right? That's going to be in the middle of
It
the road.
would have been in the middle of the road, correct? So if it's pulled over, it's behind the Jeep.
Oh my God.
So now we've narrowed that down. It's Karen Reed's SUV as we're looking at the property. Karen Reed's
That's what you
SUV.
didn't say.
To the right of that, as we're looking at from the street, at the property, to the right of that, the Jeep.
Y'all were
Behind
getting
that,
close
Ryan
to the
Nagel's
window
vehicle,
talk.
correct?
Correct.
You sure about that?
Ah, beautiful.
If my memory serves right, yes.
If your memory serves you. Okay. So
Beautiful.
you were asked about
Jackson.
the arrival of Mr. Nagel's car at the state grand jury. Do you recall that?
I believe so.
That was in April 26th, 2022. Just
Okay.
remember. Okay. Does that sound about right? I
Yep.
don't expect you to
Yes.
surprise that
Yes.
date.
Yes.
Your cat McCabe.
You were asked what time did you see Ryan Nagel's vehicle
Brother Nagel.
arrive at the location, and you indicated that it was 12:23. You remember that?
Do you have it?
I do. You were asked,
Y'all get
do
ready.
you know what time the brother came?
That's actually perfect. The brother. Yes, that works. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Nagel. Also, thanks to DSN. Besides, so we had Brother Nagel, and then we had Sister Nagel, and then thanks to DSN, because it was his brilliant idea, we have Sisters Sullivan. I love it so much. She said, what honestly would work for me is toy cars, a 3D model of the house, make her move the cars. Otherwise, I'm not ready. You know, yes, that's brilliant. And you know what? That would be so helpful as an exhibit. Okay, we're getting close to the windows. And what I'm going to do is I've got my guitar here. And when they get to that part, we'll do the premiere of what I've got live, because I don't have it recorded yet, it's Get Low Canton style. By the way, 339 is actually the area code in Canton. So
Meaning Ryan Nagel,
Okay.
correct?
Correct.
And the question from Mr. Lally was, that was from a grand juror, the question from Mr. Lally was, if you know, correct?
Correct.
And your answer was, I believe he was out front at 12:23. Is that right?
Correct.
And the reason you could be so precise with that time, Ms. McCabe, is because you had asked Julie Nagel to give you her text messages with Ryan for that night, and you had refreshed your recollection about the time, correct?
Correct.
All right. And you've also testified that as soon as you saw Ms. Reed's SUV, you texted John. Is that right?
Correct.
Here, exclamation point, question mark. That was the first text, right?
Correct.
But your text to John was at 12:27. You recall that?
Yes.
That's 4 minutes after you know Ryan Nagel arrived at the scene, correct?
Correct.
Brother Nagel.
Since Karen Reed
Right.
arrived before Ryan Nagel,
This is important.
she and John had to have been there 4 to 5 minutes before you ever saw her SUV.
Oh boy.
Objection.
Did you see her eyes, y'all?
Is that right?
She was looking at Lolly to object, and then he objected. She's like, Lolly, do my bidding. Let's watch that again. Man, this is some stuff.
Since Karen Reed arrived
Wow,
before
y'all.
Ryan
Wow,
Nagel,
watch her eyes, watch her eyes, watch her eyes.
she and John had to have been there 4 to 5 minutes before you ever saw her SUV.
Right there.
Objection.
That's fucking insane, right? I don't think witnesses should be able to cue someone when to object like that. That's my personal opinion.
Is that right?
Ryan Nagel texted his sister at 12:23 here. And then he
You can't just object on cue. Like there has to be a reason, and the witness doesn't know the reason.
texted again that he was going to leave. Then Julie Nagel went outside,
Mr.
and
McCabe, that's not my question.
Oh, she's
I'm
pissed.
explaining what happened
No,
in the 4 minutes.
Sorry.
You can
Ah,
explain
I hate her.
another question. My question is very
Oh,
specific.
she's so mad. She's mad.
Given the fact that Karen Reed,
Oh, she's
by
so mad.
definition,
She is so mad.
arrived at the location before Ryan Nagel,
I know.
and Ryan Nagel arrived at 12:23, that means, and you didn't notice the SUV until 12:27, that means her car was there for at least 4 minutes before you ever noticed it, correct?
Objection.
Is that correct? Can you answer that question?
Correct.
Oh boy. Wow.
The snow condition. We've heard a lot about the snow condition. I'm not going to beat that dead horse.
The snow.
But it's safe to say that you would agree with me that it was a light dusting of snow.
I
correct?
like dusting the snow.
I should be specific about the time. It was a light dusting of snow at or around 12 to 12:30, 12:45, something like that.
It was starting to accumulate.
Okay. And accumulate means stick to the ground, not just fall and melt, right?
Yes.
So it was starting to turn like a very thin blanket of white.
Yes.
Oh boy.
You indicate that, or you indicated on Friday that you saw some sort of tire tracks. Is that right?
Oh, is this the alligator part? I thought it was earlier, but you weren't there.
On Friday? I don't believe.
I thought in your testimony to Mr.
Yeah, you
Lally on
did.
Friday, you indicated
I
that you
heard
saw some
it.
tire tracks.
I heard it. I was there.
Yes, I don't remember that.
Okay, well, let me ask you, did you see any tire tracks?
At one point, yes.
Okay, when was that point?
I'm not sure.
Was it before Ms. Reed's vehicle got there? Was it after? Let's use that as a barometer first.
I believe it was after Miss Reed's vehicle was there because that's why I was drawn to look outside.
And what did those tire tracks look like? How would you describe them?
Is that as you
Almost
poured
like as a wave went like this. So
which is exactly how her husband describes it.
Like a
Wave or
half
like
J?
to my recollection, it was almost like started if Miss Reed's vehicle's here, let's pretend. It was kind of like that.
Just
Like a bit of a wave. So if you started on coming towards her, it'd be more of a wave. Like this in the road.
What it sounds like.
We
is-
need the toy cars.
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Oksana was right. We need the toy
What
cars.
you're describing is tracks in the middle of the road. If
Yeah,
someone
there's
is
some,
pulling off parallel,
Hot
they would
Wheels.
pull to the right and then stop. And those are the tracks that you saw? That's the wave that you saw?
It wasn't up to her car. It doesn't look like your description.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. I'm just trying here. So if it didn't go up to her car, those tracks belong to somebody else.
Well, when I saw her car, it had already moved up.
Her car.
Well, wait a minute. You already said that when you saw her car, it was directly in front of you.
And then it moved at one point.
That's all I'm asking about. Let's just take the point at which you first saw the car.
Right, right?
Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. When you first saw the car, that's when you saw the tire tracks. You just
She's
said that.
like,
No, I did not say when I first saw the car.
dude, she's trying to figure out where he's going because she can tell that he's on to something, but she doesn't know what yet.
I saw the tire tracks.
I
She
thought
wants
you
to
just
outsmart
said
him.
a couple of
She
questions
can't.
ago that you saw the tire tracks because your attention was drawn to her car. That would be the first time you saw her car, correct?
I'm saying I saw the tire tracks because I was looking out at her car. I never said when I saw the tire tracks.
Sorry. This comment from Super Planner Girl. Are we You know, first of all, I have no idea, but I'm laughing. Are we supposed to make connections to this when Brian Higgins testifies to being an asshole, except for when he first gets there and spins around with the snowplow? I'm laughing because as I was doing the timestamps this morning and I heard that again, he literally just the way he describes it, first of all, makes absolutely no fucking sense. It makes no sense. He's like, there's snow, but there's not snow. And then the way he says it, he actually does say, I was just trying to be an asshole, or I was just trying to be a dick, which that doesn't make it. You're saying that to plow the snow, whether there's snow there or not there, either way, like just being like it just. Oh God, that was a really memorable. There were lots of memorable moments. But that was definitely one of them. Yeah, I think it definitely is. Yes. Oh man. You know, but that's actually now I'm thinking. I wonder if that's valid. If that is what the point is. That's a good point. It seems like there was talk of it maybe being like a U-turn from Karen, but maybe they're saying it wasn't. Maybe you're right about that. But also, I have no idea because there wasn't enough snow to where it shouldn't have even left a mark, right? Because the roads were bare at that point. I get a great point. Look at my plow, everyone, is a weird flex. You know, actually, maybe that is why he had the plow. Maybe it was to impress Karen because we all know what was going on with them. I wonder if you're onto something, Oksana. He seems like the type of dude who would think like this. Look at my plow. And maybe that's why he made that stupid comment. Maybe he wanted everyone to, maybe he was like, oh, they're not going to notice my plow because my plow's not big enough. My plow's going to have to make a mark on the road. Maybe in order for people to notice it. Y'all. Oh my God.
Or where her car was when I saw the tire tracks.
Well, I thought you just said,
Oh,
as
boy.
I asked, when did you see the tire tracks? You said, I saw the tire tracks when I looked and saw her car because my attention was drawn to her car. I saw the tire tracks. That would be the first time you looked at her car, correct?
Doesn't have to be the first time I looked at her car. I looked out multiple times.
Did you see the tire tracks the second
Right?
time?
Right?
I'm not exactly sure.
Did you see them the third
Oh,
time?
she's so mad.
Again, I'm not sure.
Okay. So it could have been the first time.
Could have been.
But they didn't lead to the back tires of her car, did they?
No.
In addition to
Are you afraid? Should I back something up, Oksana? I was reading this, but the Joyce. He said he called it a fish stick, right? A fish stick? I have no idea. There was so much happening that I couldn't even take the time to try to figure out what the fuck he was talking about with the fish stick. Oh, stare. Okay. Yeah, let me back it up because thank you for saying something. I was reading this comment about the joystick. Yes. Okay, let me back that up. Back it up.
Looked out multiple times.
Did you see the tire tracks the second time?
Well, I'm not exactly sure.
Did you see them the third time?
Again, I'm not sure.
Okay. So it could have been the first time.
Could have been.
But they didn't lead to the back tires of her car, did they?
No.
In addition to Mr.
Did I go back far enough, guys?
Trooper Proctor interviewing you on the 29th, you also gave
Let me go back.
extensive testimony when I looked and saw her car
Oh,
because
that's
my
a lot.
attention was drawn to her car. I
Whoa.
saw the tire tracks. That would be the first time you looked at her car, correct?
Doesn't have to be the first.
That was
Tire
pretty
tracks.
cool, too.
You said, I saw the tire tracks when I looked and saw her car because my attention was drawn to her car.
Is that
I
part?
saw
That's
the tire
insane.
tracks. That would be the first time you looked at her car, correct?
Doesn't have to be the first.
How probably be the spot you're talking. That's insane.
First time I looked at her car.
Wow.
I looked out multiple
Yeah.
times.
Did you see the tire tracks the second
Look
time?
at her face.
Well, I'm not exactly sure.
Did you see
Wow.
it the third time?
Wow.
Again, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Wow.
So it could have been the first time.
Could have been.
Right.
They didn't leave
Guys, there's moments in this where I was afraid for Alan Jackson, like literally thinking she might attack his throat.
to the back tires of her car.
This is scary.
No.
In addition to Trooper Proctor interviewing you on the 29th, you also gave extensive testimony on April 26th, 2022 in front of a state court grand jury, correct?
Correct.
Right?
And you were asked
Right.
about the
Yeah.
location of Miss Reed's vehicle. I'm still staying with that for just a quick second, if
Oh,
you don't
boy.
mind. Is that right?
Correct.
Y'all, homeboy with his table over there who's been there the whole trial. DSN, we were talking about, we were like, who is he one time? And DSN made a funny joke and he was like, he's just some random dude that just like came in and set up shop early on in the trial and nobody asked any questions. But I have to say, he has really great posture. If you guys pay attention to any day in trial and look at him, he has really good posture.
You were asked where that SUV was in relation to Ryan Nagel's car. Is that right?
Oh my God, you're so right.
Would I be able to look at it to refresh my memory, please?
Well,
You're
let's
right.
start with this. Do you remember being asked
Doll, for sure.
about-
That's scary.
Karen Reed's SUV and Ryan Nagel's truck?
To be honest, I've had a few grand juries, so if you could show me what you're talking about, I
Well,
would
you know, you've had a few.
greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, but then you're just gonna be like, it doesn't stretch my recollection.
Thank you.
That's the entirety of your state court grand jury.
Okay.
I'm going to direct your attention to pages 182 to 187.
I will say, I think there's a difference between commenting on something that's just an observation, like a really strong jaw. Like making fun of would be like a jaw strong enough to crack a walnut. I don't know. I just made that up. But like a strong jaw is like in a way, well, depending on who's saying it and what industry or field, whatever, it could be considered an objective observation. But nonetheless, there's no judgment associated. So I think you're okay.
Probably scan those pretty quickly and just let me know if you scan those.
Okay.
As you glance at those pages, my question is a relatively simple one. I wanted you to have an opportunity. At no point, when you were describing the vehicles that were out front, in front of 34th Fairview on that night, at no point, under oath, in front of that grand jury,
Oh, gotcha.
did you ever mention a Jeep? Did you?
I was not asked about any other vehicles out front.
So when you were talking about the vehicles that you saw in front in some painstaking detail, talking about the black SUV and Ryan Nagel's truck, you just left out the Jeep because nobody asked you about it.
I didn't read anything in that about Ryan Nagel's vehicle.
Did you miss it?
I must have.
Okay.
Is it in there?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
You were,
what,
in fact, asked about Ryan Nagel's Jeep, weren't you?
if you want to show me.
Well, I don't want to sit here and, did you
I-
review your
I
transcript?
just read it all. I didn't see it.
Oh my God.
Ms. McCabe,
Wow.
I can't interrupt when I'm talking.
Okay.
I will do the same for you. Okay? As
She's
you
so
review
mad.
those pages,
The
you
slow
were asked
blink? She does
about
the slow blink when
cars
she
that you
gets
saw
mad,
in
you
front.
guys.
Did you not?
I was asked about Miss Reed's vehicle.
Okay. And at
In
no
case you guys
point
needed
did
to
you
tell,
mention
I think
a
that's
Jeep
one of them.
being behind Miss Reed's vehicle, as you testified today, correct?
The questions were all about Miss Reed's vehicle.
At no point, my question is this, it's yes or no. You did or you didn't?
Looks so
Did you mention ever
Oh my God.
in that grand jury that there was a Jeep
Grand
behind Miss
jury.
Reed's vehicle? Yes or no?
I'm not sure. I'd have to read it all.
As you sit here, do you recall mentioning the Jeep?
I was asked about Miss Reed's vehicle, and those are the questions I answered.
I can't, you need to keep your
Okay.
voice up, please.
Sorry.
Let's try this again.
Y'all.
As you sit here, do
Y'all.
you recall mentioning the Jeep, ma'am?
I would have to reread the transcript.
You don't
So she's doing this because she's baiting him, right? She wants the entire grand jury transcript and it's like hundreds of pages. So I think they're all up for recall. I'm pretty sure all of these witnesses are also on the defense list, witness list. I'm sure they are. In fact, I mean, yeah, she could be called in again. Also, I love that you said for the love of dog, because I totally say that. Yeah, I mean, she's not, look at her eyes. I mean, right? You could actually, that would be funny. I should do that. I should do a thing. Hold on. I'm gonna take a screenshot of this. I'm gonna make a thing. Don't you guys worry. Don't you guys worry. Not that you were worried, but I'm gonna thank you for that idea. I'm gonna see if I can like take the green lasers from the 2 gray boys. They have to be those same ones. They can't be different ones, right? They're gonna be the green lasers from the 2 gray boys. Actually, I wonder if I could like put the 2 gray boys situated behind her head so that the lasers like are going through and then coming out the other side of her eyes. What do you guys think? But like we have to, whenever we hear lasers, the gray boys have to be involved. They can't not be involved. So for anyone who wasn't there, that's from the Murdoch deep dive series. Actually the AG, Alan Wilson, calls them the 2 gray boys towards the end of the trial. They're also the 5'2" vigilantes. You know, they've got lots of names, but they have the lasers. They have all the lasers. They think you get, yeah. They trained their whole lives for this. All of their 11 long years. Oh, y'all, the laughing. There's just, oh, it was so good. It was so good. Sometimes I think we might have to just watch that whole trial again sometime.
I have to reread the transcript
I know.
to answer that question. Do you recall mentioning the Jeep? If you don't, you don't.
I may not have been asked about the Jeep, so I did not mention the Jeep.
Fair enough.
Wow.
Did you and Mr. Higgins, between then and now, between the date of the incident and now, have you ever had a conversation with Mr. Higgins?
Guys, I love Blackwater. She really wants us to understand about the bitters. Thank you so much. I love you, Blackwater. So I think she probably realized that I wasn't understanding the bitters reference, which I wasn't, because I don't really know much about bitters. But she clarified normal Irish people wouldn't drink the bitters. And now it makes sense what she's been saying. She's so, I love it, so polite. Wait, because she's the only one that drinks them, she said earlier. It all makes sense now. We must laugh ere we cry. Love it. Oh my God. Yeah, well, Gary gets it, right? He gets it, kind of.
About where his Jeep was parked.
Do you know about the bowl?
No.
Have you ever had a conversation with Mr. Higgins about anything having to do with this case?
I do not believe so.
Did anyone, leaving Mr. Higgins aside, did anyone tell you anything about Mr. Higgins' Jeep and what he testified to?
No.
Were you ever asked by anybody to mention a Jeep being behind Miss Reed's SUV in this trial?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Were you ever asked by
Fox,
anybody to make sure you mention a Jeep being parked behind Miss Reed's SUV in this trial?
Not that I recall, no.
That's not a straight answer. Super Planner Girl, you remember, it all goes back to that story, what happened at the Coles. Oh my God. I don't know what an obelisk is. I don't know. Candace said, I dated an Irish guy and he drank his weight in cider. Is that cider like apple cider? Or like cider as in, I mean, I think it's alcoholic, right? But like cider is made of apples, right? I don't know how to ask that question in a way that doesn't sound stupid, so I'm just going to stop.
After you arrived and you noticed this SUV outside, you started paying somewhat close attention to it, did you not?
I went to the front door and looked out the window at the vehicle, yes.
Here we go, guys. Get ready. Get ready, guys.
As soon as you saw the vehicle, that 1227 here, correct?
Correct.
And then a few minutes later, at 1231, you texted, pull behind me, to John. Is that right?
Correct.
And then at 1240, you texted hello, correct?
Correct.
And at 1242, you texted, where are you?
Correct.
And at 1245, you texted hello, correct?
Correct.
So that's 5 text messages And each time you texted him, you were walking to the door and
Okay,
looking out
here
the
we
vehicle
go.
as you're texting.
Here we go.
Correct?
I know for the first two I was.
Blow blanks
You
again.
testified at another hearing, another proceeding, on June 8th, 2023, correct?
Correct.
In that other proceeding, did you testify that you got up and sat down and got up and sat down every time you were texting?
Oh boy.
Possibly.
Okay. So if you got up and
We're
walked
getting
over to
close.
the door and you see the SUV and you text, and then you walk away from the door and sit down for a second, that would
Okay.
be one text and one view of the SUV, correct?
This is all about this window.
So if you did that at 12:27, 12:31, 12:40, 12:42, and 12:45, you'd agree that's 5 times that you were up and down looking at the SUV, correct?
Looking out the window.
I'm not sure if I did it 5 times.
How many times do you think you did do it?
I know I definitely did it the first when I said here. I know I definitely did it when I said pull behind me because that's when the vehicle had moved up a little bit.
And then did you see the vehicle move up again? A second time?
Yes, that's when I told him to pull behind me.
Okay, so that's the first time. So just so we're clear, when you first
Okay.
saw the SUV, it was stationary, correct?
When I first saw the vehicle, it was straight ahead out the front door stationary.
And you texted here.
Correct.
Then you walked back over
Right.
to the window, or I'm sorry, to the door, to the storm. You said, pull behind me, correct, at 12:31?
That's what she said.
Correct.
All right, at that point, you saw that it had moved up a little bit, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you saw it move up a second time, which you just said you did, then that would be a third time that you had to have seen it and texted, correct?
Why would that be third time?
Because it only moved once so far. You saw it move twice.
So the first time I saw it, it was here. And I said here. And then the next time I texted, I said, pull behind me. So that was 1 time, 2 times.
This is so insane, right? Like, who would
So
really
you saw
want
it pull up again, a second time. So you saw it move twice.
From one place to the flagpole to further up.
I mean, what's really crazy too is like, would you really actually remember this to down to this type of, you know what I mean? Like, I guess you would maybe immediately act. I mean, this is the type, right? Exactly. This is the type of thing that like I would not be counting in real life. I feel like anyone who came up here and said, "Yeah, sorry, I don't know how many times I looked," or "I don't remember if I looked," is probably telling the truth. Especially because they've all been drinking. But like, who the fuck? You know, to say it was exactly this many times, and this is exactly how much time elapsed in between, and this is exactly what I did. Yeah, clearly it's like, it makes no sense. And it really does make more sense once we get to the part where Jackson kind of insinuates that this was all done to try to explain the different text messages and stuff, as we'll hear in a second.
That's 3 times that you
Dumb bite.
Okay.
Is that yes?
I'm telling you, my memory is twice to the door.
Mr. McCabe, it's not a trick question. You just testified that you saw the car move twice. By definition, that has to be you looked at it 3 times. Stationary, move once, move twice.
Maybe I used the wrong wording.
Maybe.
Oh my God.
When you testified in front of this other proceeding,
Stay away from anyone with a snowplow.
didn't you testify that you walked up and sat back down 5 different times?
Oksana makes a good point. Is it possible she wants to be difficult and everything to make it less up? Yeah, that's possible. I mean, I would say that's what she's doing for sure.
Watching that car and texting every single time?
Would you be able to show me that?
It's going to take a minute. You had an
Yeah,
opportunity,
it did take a minute. I
Mr.
cut
McCabe,
that
to
part out.
review those few pages from your testimony in June of 2023.
Yes.
Did you you were asked about getting up and sitting down and looking at the SUV several different times and texting?
Yes.
In fact, you
Yeah.
indicated that you got up and looked outside through that storm door.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that I think that no matter what the intention or strategy or lack thereof is, argumentative is what's happening.
Several times, correct?
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, you looked every single time that you texted, you indicated that you looked out at the SUV and saw something that prompted you to text something.
Yeah,
correct?
I would say I don't really understand American men here.
Correct.
And then after the last time, which would be 5 times, 5 texts, 5 looks, after the last time.
I think also from his point, I think part of his point is exactly what we're saying. You like the fact that this is all stupid and the fact that she's like, I think that's the point. His point beyond the fact that we know he's getting to these texts, I think it's really to point out that this is so stupid that she's fighting him on this. And it is so stupid that she tries to say she knows for sure when that's really unreasonable. And it's to try to make a mockery of it, really, I think.
You got back up, which would be a 6th time, and the SUV was gone. Just chronologically.
Correct. My husband and I were both getting up and looking, so
I didn't ask you about your husband.
Okay.
Just about you. The answer is correct.
yes.
So you're indicating that you were trying to communicate with the occupant of the SUV that was sitting, what would you say, 30 feet outside the front door?
I'm not good with distance.
It's further than you and I are from each other, correct?
Correct.
Oh,
At least
now we're
double
getting to
that.
the alligator
Correct.
part, I
Okay,
think.
so could you give me, maybe yards are easier, like 10 yards, 15 yards?
Again, I'm not good with measurements.
Okay. Just right outside the front door, though. Within,
Straight outside, yes.
well, straight outside until it moved.
To the front door. Of the front door is where it was.
The window to the
Okay,
wall.
straight outside until it moved, according to you, correct?
Yes, and then it moved. Correct.
And then moved a second time, correct?
Correct. It moved to the flagpole, and then it moved up again.
Okay. Then you indicated that you had an absolutely clear view of the SUV. You were asked those questions, correct?
If I had a clear view,
Clear view.
I could see the car out front. Yes.
You know,
You were asked,
I'm starting to realize something. Are you guys seeing that there's a similarity in the way that how convenient it is and how maybe potentially they're using, there's 2 things happening. Remember we've talked about from the very get-go how there's this time period that's so crowded, right? 12:10 to 12:15, 12:30. Okay, so you've got Brother Nagel coming to pick up Sister Nagel. That whole thing is still weird. It's weird that she doesn't leave. It's weird that they invite him in. I think that maybe they did want to use him as maybe a fall guy, but whatever. So in other words, it would make sense. Okay, in that situation, maybe it would make sense for Sister Nagel to be looking out the window to see if he's there. However, we know that she was texting, like they were going to text when they got there. Second of all, she couldn't have been that antsy to leave if when he finally shows up, she's like, I want to stay. Like I could see that if you're like in a hurry or you're like antsy to leave or whatever, maybe looking out the window makes sense. But, or if there's not cell phones, but you know, when you're going to get a text message and you're just going to stay, like, first of all, why wouldn't you? Okay, let's back up. Well, a reasonable person would text and say, hey, I changed my mind. I'm going to stay. Right? How come no one even, I've not even heard, I hadn't thought of that, but I don't know why someone smarter than me hadn't thought, like that is the reasonable thing. Because it wasn't even him driving. It was his friend. They drove all the way out there after drinking to go pick her up as a favor. I mean, it makes, well, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if things actually happened, right? Because like, so what I was going to say is that even if you give that benefit of the doubt, that only means one person should be really looking out the window in that group, right? However, it still doesn't really make any sense. But then you also have this other thing where at the same time, there's this black SUV. And remember, from the Nagel crew, as in brother and sister Nagel and the other people involved with that situation, the testimony varies. I have it all written down in my notes. Some people saw the SUV, some people didn't. Some people saw the Jeep, some people didn't. Actually, none of them saw the Jeep, they said. But it varied on the SUV and what happened with that. So, but then you have the SUV people. So in other words, you've got Meerkat, McCabe, and Jen who are looking out the window and their stories because they, so in okay, here's why I think it's interesting, because both sides have a point that they're both sides. It's like if both sides need, when I say both sides, I mean the Brian Albert Jr. friends and then the McCabes, right? They need an excuse and a reason to have been looking out the window. Think of it this way, okay? They need a reason to be looking out the window. And I guess it makes sense. It's like, well, if you're expecting somebody, right? But here's the thing is that the McCabes wouldn't be looking out to, they wouldn't be expecting Brother Nagel, right? They wouldn't be looking out the window for that purpose, right? They don't know them. They're not. So it would, so then you think, well, okay, so then it's because they're expecting Karen and John. So they're all looking out the window. Picture this, guys. Picture this scene. You've got all these people, like 6, 8 people, all looking out the window every 2 minutes or whatever. It varies on depending on who you ask, looking out the window for a period of time over. That's why I joked about this is like a meme, right? Where it's like, you've just got all these people lined up in a row and it's a birthday party and they're just looking out the window. It's fucking hilarious. Peeking out the blinds, the drapes. I can picture it in my head and it's really funny. And they're waiting for different people. But at the same time, Kit Smith is saying, so they were all looking out the window so much because, oh, I hadn't actually thought of that. I mean, that I suppose. I'm just saying that, I'm saying it could be completely made up, that they weren't looking out the window at all. But they needed to be, they in order to try to be able to say there was, in other words, in order to try to give a story of what happened or when people arrived or when people left. And I mean, really all of it, all the purpose of this is speaking to the black SUV, which they're saying is Karen's car, right? Essentially. That's the whole point of all this window testimony. I mean, because that seems to be why they're asking it. By they, I mean Lally. Although it's hard to say what he's thinking because who knows. But that seems to be the point. They're trying to suggest that Karen dropped him off or something, right? They're trying to place her there, I guess, which why are they just not using telemetry or cell phone data? It's beyond me. Because again, even if the cell phone data was dismissed because of the fact that there wasn't a search warrant, which is possible, I don't think that's the same with the car. Like, I think that they have that. So, although we don't know for sure, fucking hell. Why the prosecution brought this is beyond me if they don't have evidence, but whatever. Anyway, but in other words, I'm wondering if it was just they needed a reason to try to be looking out the window so that then they could be like, oh, we saw the SUV, right? Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. Yeah, conspiracy speculation. I love that. Yeah, that phrase. I mean, here's the thing. You have to think about it this way. The odds that they would all be looking out the window for these completely different events that were happening at the same time, maybe that's not that wild. However, it's more what's when you add in the fact that they all saw different things that contradicts the other things that the other people saw. And then you add in just the fact that it doesn't seem reasonable that the whole thing with Brother Nagel and Sister Nagel, nothing about this entire situation seems reasonable. Even without a body being found on the lawn just after, it seems there's things about this that just don't make sense. So when you look at the odds that all this stuff happened as they're saying, but there wasn't anything fishy about it, like, again, you have to look at what's reasonable, right? And like what's likely and what's, so I can't say what it's about. I can't say what happened. I'm just saying I don't buy. Okay, I'm just saying if I were the jury, I would be like, this is a bridge too far. This is a bridge too far, right? That's what it is. It's a bridge too far. If you mean commonalities in their statements, yes, I have all written down. Right, I know. I do have it written down what everybody saw in terms of the Jeep and the SUV. I do. And it's a mess. And I can read it for you guys I have read it previously in other streams, but I can read it again if you guys want to hear. But it really is a mess. There's everything. It's kind of like how I feel about religions, where they can't all be correct, so they have to all be wrong, right? Because there's direct contradictions, and they're all sure about what they saw. Like they're all sure that they're correct about what they saw. I mean, not okay. Let me take that back. Some of them are a little bit more on the iffy side, right? Which, if anything, is probably more believable. The problem is that there's so many that are sure, like her, right, about what they saw. But what they're saying contradicts somebody else that was also sure about what they saw, and also probably a prior statement of their own. But yeah, the math wasn't adding up. So if all of them were more like, yeah, we don't know, we're unsure, it would add more credibility to this whole thing. Because again, it just doesn't make sense with like the entire, yeah. Like Candace said, the whole thing is unreasonable and not realistic. Exactly. Yeah.
Looking out the front door of the house, your answer was, uh-huh. You were asked, and there's a window in that door, right? Answer, it was opened. Yeah. Question, so you had a clear view outside. Answer, a clear view outside. Yes. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay.
She's
and
looking at Lally.
You had a clear view?
Looking at Lally.
I had a clear view of Karen's vehicle outside, correct.
And then you reiterated that.
You say something?
With the following exchange. Question, was the amount of snow down sufficient?
There it is, you guys. Y'all, let me rewind that. That was disgusting. She gave him a glance way ahead of time. Look at this. Like she knows what's coming. This is so suspicious. This makes me ill. Like this is so not good. Like she knows what's coming and she's like, I don't want to answer this question. Holy fuck. Watch this.
You were asked, and there's a window in that door,
Watch.
right? Answer, it was opened. Yeah. Question, so you had a clear view outside. Answer, a clear view outside. Yes. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay.
She looked over at Lally right
is that
there.
your memory? You had a clear view?
Wait, he's not objecting yet.
I had a clear view of Karen's vehicle outside,
Watch.
correct.
And then you reiterated that.
She's going to
with
look
the
again.
following
Now he's going to obey.
Exchange. Question, was
There.
the amount of snow
Objection,
down
Your Honor.
There's the
sufficient?
object. I hope the jury can see all of that. Boy, oh boy. You know what? I will just be honest. I don't care what the testimony is. I don't care what the trial is, what the case is. If I were on a jury and I saw a witness doing that and the prosecution obeying on command, peace out. Nope. I'm not. This is horrifying. The jury can see her. In fact, Oksana, they were in a bigger courtroom initially, and the defense made a motion right before the trial started to change courtrooms into this smaller courtroom that's teeny tiny. And the specific reason was because they stated they wanted the jury to be able to see the witnesses' faces up close and personal, right up close. And they are right up close. They can see. And actually we've got well, maybe when this is over, I'll pull it up. I've got pictures of this teeny courtroom where you can see it better. But they can see. It's just a matter of if they're watching, which I would assume they are. I would hope they are. I would be this to me should not be happening. It shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be happening. This is not what it's about. This is not the point of testifying. You're there as a witness. It's like she's trying to play the entire fucking system, like the entire proceeding. Fuck with, like, this is like she's trying to control the entire proceeding or something, because objections matter, and objections matter for the appellate record, for that matter too. Like, why? How? I know. I just, someone needs to tell her to stop. Like, I can't. It's like, this feels like really not good to me.
So let's hear the question.
Was the amount of snow coming down sufficient
not
to
okay.
obstruct your view of the vehicle? Or
It's like as if she may as well be in control of her own questioning or something. Like, I don't know. This is
did you
bad.
have a clear view of it? Answer, I had a good view of it.
Objection.
She's
The
looking
objection
at
is as to the form of the question and the reading.
No, that's okay. I'm going along with the
See?
question.
See, it wasn't he didn't actually have a proper objection. You know why? Because it was her objection and she's not an attorney. My, look at her. Look at her still looking at him like that. That is so disgusting. I don't even deep breaths. Deep breaths. Yeah, right? And that the jury's gonna pick up on that, you know? And she seems like the type of woman who, like, even if she didn't actually hurt John O'Keefe, let's just say she didn't actually hurt him. If she's the type of person who just wants to be in charge of everything, she would, and she clearly, you know, she might insert herself, in other words, into a situation just to try to control it. It wouldn't surprise me. Right?
Was that your testimony?
Yes,
So not only did you have a clear view,
Ash,
you indicated in
not
your
wanting
words you had a
to
good
answer
view, right?
correct.
Then you noticed that the SUV was
Because I want to
gone
be able to lie on
after the
stage all
12:45
time.
text, right?
Correct.
So you're looking at that SUV over the course of between the beginning text and the end text. It's about 19 minutes, right? 12:27 or so to 12:45, 18, 19 minutes, something like that, correct?
Correct.
I mean, maybe add a minute because you got back up and didn't text, and the SUV was gone, right?
Correct.
So you would agree, we just do some basic math, you're looking at that SUV on average about every 3.5 minutes.
I guess I'm.
Oh my
If you
God.
want to pull out the times, and you can look at them.
Well, we talked about the times. and
Yeah,
you-
I know.
You were texting
Like I said.
between 12:27 and 12:45.
Can we put them in it? I hope you're not going to get mad at me for saying this about your sister, but, like, you know, this is a joke. Put them in a cage and, like, let them see what happens, you know? Joking.
Correct.
Right? So if you were just
People would die in that
divide by 5 times, getting up and looking, I don't know, I'm doing the math in my head, maybe it's every 3 minutes or so.
Correct.
At no time did you hear any noise or sound outside that was unusual? Caught your
No.
attention? You didn't hear any squealing of tires or squealing of brakes?
No.
You didn't hear any screaming or yelling?
No.
You didn't hear any loud voices or foul language or doors slam?
No.
You didn't hear any verbal argument or the revving of an engine, anything like that?
No.
Matter of fact, you didn't hear any collision or crash, did you?
No.
Matter of fact, the entire time that you looked out at that vehicle.
Oh my God,
with
that's
that
horrifying.
clear and
Why?
that good view.
Oh
you
my
didn't see
God.
anything out of
I'm
the ordinary. did
sorry.
you?
Kitsmits, I'm glad you're straight. That's not good. That's not good.
No.
Don't ever go there again. Blech.
And you would agree with me,
not-
as you
I don't
looked at
like
the
that. I don't like that
SUV,
at all.
you're looking over the lawn to the SUV out at the street, correct?
Correct.
There was no obstruction between you and the SUV. You've already testified to that. Is that right?
Correct.
And you could see
Getting to
everything
the
in your
alligator.
field
We're
of
getting
view.
to the alligator.
Correct.
And then you saw the SUV gone. It had driven away after 12:45.
Correct.
So I have a question, Ms. McCabe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Where was the body?
Oh.
I have no idea. I'm assuming the body was on the front lawn.
Oh my
The
God.
problem with that is you were looking at the front lawn,
Oh my God.
weren't you?
I was looking at the vehicle and
So
where it had moved.
Do you know what field of view is?
So this is the problem with, so here's the thing. This is the problem with not just her story, but it's pointing out that there's a problem with everyone else's story because they were all looking out the window at the same time, right? This is really breaking down that something doesn't add up because they didn't see a body. Because according to everything that they're all saying, the body would have had to have been there. That's the point. That's the point. Because here's the thing, they can say all they want one after another. Oh, yeah, I wasn't looking, blah, blah. But the point is that there would have to have been a body there by that point, given the timing of the SUV and everything. And you know what? My guess is that's why Sister Nagel last minute said, yeah, you know, I saw a black blob. And then during testimony for the first time said it was the size, what, 5'6" or whatever. I mean, because somebody was going to have seen something. And of course that got ripped apart. But Lally must have figured out that this was coming down the pike, that somebody would have had to, like, you cannot have that many people looking out a window. Like, that's the problem with their story. They want to be like, yeah, we were all looking out the window. So see, it's really truthful. Like, it's all really believable that we all saw this SUV. But then it's like they failed to consider that if they were all looking out the window at that area, they would have seen a dead human. Like, they didn't think it through, perhaps, is what I'm saying. Like, they didn't think it all the way through. You can't see one without the other type of thing. Like, y'all would have had to see. Yeah, I agree with that, Blackwater. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, and I also agree with that as well. Yeah. So he's just pointing out that, but again, he's using her as an example, but the jury has heard all these people by now come in one after another and testify during the same time frame, looking out the same way of the window, right? Like the same things. And so by pointing it out with her, it's kind of doing it with all of them, I think.
Would you like to explain it?
What?
You had a clear
You're on the witness
and good
stand?
view
Oh my
across
God.
that lawn to the SUV, didn't you?
When it was straight out, I did, yes.
You had a clear and good view of that SUV the entire time until it left, didn't you?
I could see the black SUV, correct.
Nothing was obstructing your vision.
I wasn't looking at the ground.
I didn't ask you about the ground yet. We'll get to the ground. Nothing was obstructing your vision.
Oh, that's when we get to the
So you had
alligator.
a clear and good, your words, not mine, a clear and good view of the SUV.
Right.
Yes.
And
And
everything
that's
in
the
front of
problem, isn't it? That's the problem in it. Because she testified, because they're trying to figure, like, in other words, they were questioning her at this grand jury to try to figure out how well could she have possibly seen the SUV. And in order to bolster her story, she's saying, I had a good and clear view of the SUV. And now the problem is it's come back to bite her in the ass, because he's like, well, you said you had a good and clear view of the SUV, which means you had a good and clear view, right?
I never said everything in front of it. I saw the SUV. It's
We're getting to the
black. It has
alligator.
lights on. And as it moved, I could see it with its lights.
And you had a clear view of everything between you and the SUV. All the things closer to you and the SUV.
Oh, she
I
won't
wouldn't say that.
So your view was obstructed on what was between you and the SUV, but not obstructed on the SUV?
That's not what I was saying.
No, of course not. Because if you had a clear field of view to the SUV, you could see everything in
Oh,
front of it
boy.
as well, meaning between you and the SUV as well.
If I'm looking straight out at an SUV, I'm not looking down at the ground.
Let me ask you a
Oh,
question
boy.
about that.
Here we go. Here we go.
You're focusing right now on my face
Here we
Yes.
go.
as you
Guys,
answer
guys,
these
guys.
questions. You think you'd see, I don't know, an alligator sitting in front of me if it was there?
Objection, Your Honor.
Yes.
Shout out
You
to
would
the
see
alligator.
something. Can you clearly see that there is nothing between you and me except a podium?
I want to see that again.
Yes. Well, there's a table.
I want to see that.
Objection, Your Honor.
I want to see it again.
Obstructed on the SUV?
That's not what I was saying.
No, of course not. Because if you had a clear field of view to the SUV, you could see everything in front of it as well, meaning between you and the SUV as well.
If I'm looking straight out at an SUV, I'm not looking down at the ground.
Let me ask you a question about that. You're focusing right now on my face
Yes.
as you're answering these questions. You think you'd see, I don't know, an alligator sitting in front of me
Love
if it was
it.
there?
Love it.
Objection, Your
Fucking
Honor.
love it. I
Yes.
love
I
it.
think you would see something.
I
Can
love
you
it.
clearly
Do
see
it,
that there is
Jackson.
nothing
Do it.
between you and me except a podium?
Wow.
Yes. Well, there's a table.
And you don't have to look down to see that, right?
Correct.
You're looking directly in my face, but you can see things that are between you and me because
I have to say, I think it's really smart that he used that as an example. It's like he used the alligator to get her to point out something that was more possible to be in the courtroom. Like, that was brilliant. Like, he uses the alligator because then that's the only way she would then concede to a table, right? Because there's a table or whatever podium between them. So then she if he gives, okay, in other words, if he gives her the opportunity to correct him, he'll get her to say what he wants her to say. That's the secret. So he gets it wrong by saying would you see an alligator? And then she's like, well, no, but I can see that there's a table or a podium. So now now he's got it. Now he's got what he needs because she's looking straight ahead. Now he can be like, oh, okay, you can see that and you're not looking down. It's brilliant. It's a really brilliant way it's an actual in real time visual, physical demonstration of what a field of vision is.
You have a field of vision, right?
Objection.
Ms. McCabe,
Right?
as you looked over that flat lawn with that good and clear view of the SUV,
Loves quoting
you
her on
could see the
words.
SUV and everything between you and the SUV, correct?
When I looked out the front window, I could see the SUV clearly, like I'm looking at you right now, and it was further away than you are.
And you did it not once, not twice,
5 times, right?
3 times.
Yes.
You did it 5 times. and
Beautiful.
You did a 6th.
Yes,
after it was
I
gone,
agree.
Correct.
Brilliant.
After that
Well done.
SUV
Well played,
was
sir.
gone,
Brilliant.
and you looked out that window with that clear and good view,
Blackwater said homie.
there was no body, was there?
I never saw a body.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
God.
I wish I had.
Sounds
Bitch.
like that's a little rehearsed.
Not at all. It's not at all.
I mean,
I'll let the answer stand.
ooh, I forgot she did that. That was nice. She let the answer stand. That was actually, I forgot. That's a huge moment right there, man. Because here's the thing, like, she asked for it. I think that was the judge kind of like, hey, you asked for it to Jen, because technically her saying, I wish I had, that's non-responsive to the question, right? That's just her, and so it's funny because we don't usually see this a lot. Well, and yeah, I mean, so then he's like, that sounds a little rehearsed. And it's because obviously at this point we've heard multiple witnesses come in from their group and say the same thing over and over again, while also showing absolutely no remorse or whatever. But the thing that is most interesting there is how she says, I'll let the answer stand. That is a moment for Jen. Like Jen, at that moment, she's lost the control element there to a certain extent. We'll see if she tries to grab it back, but that's interesting. I love it. Yeah. Great. I agree. Yeah.
You left the location about 1:45. Is that right?
Yes.
You didn't see anything out of the ordinary as you got in. Was it your car or Mr. McCabe's car?
It was my car.
When you got in that SUV of yours, you didn't see anything out of the ordinary outside, correct?
I wasn't looking outside.
Okay. I know that
Wait, what?
is the answer that you want to give to every question. My question is
I
yes
thought
or no.
she was
Did you
looking
see anything out of the ordinary?
No.
Thank you. You didn't see anything out of the ordinary when you got in the vehicle?
No.
You didn't see anything out of the ordinary when that vehicle backed up?
No.
When that vehicle turned to the, I guess it would be to the right, to leave toward Chapman, and the headlights illuminated the area in front of you? Didn't see anything out of the ordinary then either?
I wasn't looking out the front window.
Again, there's that question. There's that answer. My question is, did you see anything out of the ordinary?
Well, you were asking about the headlights out the front. That's why I said I didn't see anything out there front.
Oh, you didn't see the headlights turned on?
I was turned to the back.
Right. Did you see that the headlights came on in the car?
Yes, in the driveway, the headlights came on.
Right. And you're seated in the front passenger seat, correct?
Correct.
So, according to you, you got in the car and immediately twisted yourself, looking directly
Yeah,
to
she
the
takes
rear,
it.
and never turned back around and never looked outside the windows.
Correct.
Got it. Is that normal for you?
Yeah, I'm a very chatty person, so I turned to talk to the girls.
So you made sure that you didn't look out the window.
Nope, that's not it at all.
Oh my God,
You also didn't hear anybody, you did hear
her
some
tone,
back,
man.
since they were so chatty, talking about bread and sandwiches or something, right?
Correct.
But you never heard anybody say anything about noticing anything out of the ordinary, correct?
Correct.
You didn't hear Julie Nagel say that she saw a black object in the yard.
Never heard that.
But you were turned around looking
Right, I know.
back, according to you, correct?
The other thing too, guys, I don't know if y'all live where there's snow, but I would do / have used to be more snow. But here's the thing. If you've been around snow at night, right? Especially when you got a large expanse, like that front yard is a large expanse. It doesn't take much light. If you guys have been around it, even if there's no lamp lights, if it's just moonlight, but whether you've got moonlight or one lamp, everything is reflected like there's a mirror. It's actually really bright outside. Actually, I used to love it when it was lots of snow and and when there was lots of snow and the moon would be out or whatever, and it would just make everything really bright outside. And so I think that the amount of, having any layer of snow down like that, in other words, just your visibility is different. Like for me, if I think about my field of vision, again, like I said, I'm completely non-observant around my surroundings. However, what I'm going to see, even with my lack of being observant, when there's snow and there's any bit of light, whether it's the moon or a lamp or whatever, everything is illuminated, like more so than when there's not. So, I'm not sure what you're referring to here, so I don't know that I can help you with that. But I don't know. Does that have to do with the snow or what?
Correct.
Indeed, engaging them in conversation, according to you,
Correct.
so that you can make sure that you weren't looking out the front or right windows.
Objection.
Can you answer that? Is that why
very,
you did it?
very reflective.
No, that's not why I did it. I was talking to the two girls.
When you got home, what did you do?
I went up to bed.
What time do you think you got home?
Somewhere after approximately, between 2 and 2:15.
Took you a few minutes to drop the girls off?
Correct.
When you got home, you got on your phone, correct?
Yes.
Here we go, guys.
Before you got on your phone, you went upstairs to your bedroom.
Yes.
So, okay. So Dr. Bullbetter, welcome, says she can't stand, or he, I'm not sure, can't stand his sarcasm. It's unnecessary. Well, I mean, to that end, how do you feel about the witness's sarcasm? Blackwater says when snow happens here, it makes everything clean. Absolutely. Completely agree. Yeah. Yeah. Even places where, like, I mean, it really does. Your eyes are drawn differently than even in the daytime, I would say. So she says she can't stand his sarcasm. So Kitsbit says she does agree that it gets a bit much. Yeah, I mean, I'm not, we'll get to the recross when we get to the recross, but I'm at the point where, so I will say too, Jen McCabe, I feel like someone talks to her after this day and tells her how she came across, because I feel like she came in very different the next day for the rest of cross, which would also be the same day as recross. So this we're still on the first day of cross, where she's real fighty. She was much less combative and more reasonable, I would say, the next day. And so I think that it really depends on the witness, right? Like, she's trying to control this entire situation, and that's not how it works. She is just a witness. Sometimes we see this from experts, and that's a little bit different because they are there for a reason, based on their expertise and experience, training expertise and experience. They are there to, represent an opinion. And they have more leeway, and they have other rules, of course, to follow than a lay witness. A lay witness is just, they shouldn't have an agenda. Shouldn't have an agenda. And they should just, and it's really refreshing when you see a lay witness like this, who just testifies to what they saw, what they did, and does not have an agenda. And, even if someone doesn't really remember stuff, that's better than coming in with an agenda, coming in with bias, coming in, and so this is a witness that is like I mean, to say it's an example of a difficult witness would be an understatement. So as an attorney, you have to take a different approach with different witnesses, and a good attorney does that, and they can change, their strategy, and they can change their tone, and they can change their pacing and all that to the witness. Anyone that's ridden a horse, I don't know if that's the best example. It's just the first thing I thought of. Anyone that's ridden a horse might understand that there's horses that are very stubborn and high spirited, and it will take a little bit more physical motion. I mean, talking about like squeezing of the legs and stuff like that, because I used to ride English. It'll take a little bit more effort from the person in terms of like using their muscles to convey a command or whatever than it would with a horse who really just kind of goes with the flow and whatever. There's plenty of other examples, but sort of it's like you have to tailor it. You know, my growing up is another example. My brother needed a lot of rules, so he was given rules. I didn't need rules, so I wasn't given rules, you know, sort of thing. I mean, you know, and that's a good point too, that he could be just trying to frustrate them so stuff comes out. Yeah. You know, and it's funny because we see this a lot. There's a lot of defense attorneys, actually the majority of them. I feel like they have been prosecutors, former prosecutors. Yeah, I agree. That's what makes Carrie Roberts a much more believable and likable witness. Absolutely. She just answers questions, doesn't absolutely. Yeah, and that's why they didn't cross her. I mean, there was no reason to cross her. I agree, Kit Smits. She was and it really too, by seeing the juxtaposition, you really see the difference in the witnesses, right? Between her, and it makes sense because this whole time I've been like thinking to myself, you could tell that the McCabe's really wanted to throw her under the bus. And now it makes sense as to why. I mean, I think her attitude though is not about her daughter being, maybe when she's talking about that specifically, like I guess that's on recross maybe, but they haven't even, that's not what's happening here. She doesn't want to be wrong here. Oh, I'm sorry, Blackwater, because I think she is the last witness of this video. I hate to say it, because we actually will pick up with her on the next video, because she's on the stand a long time. I hate it for you. I'm sorry. And that's another good point. Yeah, they love the drama and the theater. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, and you also have to remember too, yeah, there's a style, and that there's a regional thing for that as well, because there's some places, like for example, if anyone watching Chad Daybell, like it's the complete opposite. Like it's, you know, it just, and so I think, yeah, the region and the culture will also make a difference there. However, regardless of wherever you are, you need to know your jury, right? Because you have to keep them listening. And that's the thing that, like, I think that's where a lot of it will come from, because you need the jury to stay engaged. And this happens in trials all the time where the jury starts to fall asleep and whatnot. You want to keep them engaged. And think about it too. They've got Lally over there, Lollygaggle, who, I mean, I don't know about the jury, but for myself and like a lot of other people watching, puts them to sleep, right? And we have to put them on 1.5 times speed. And so part of it too, I mean, could be you know, it is refreshing. Like even starting from opening statements, you go from Lally, and it's like it's trotting along. It's not making any sense. The pace is so slow. And then and then you've got defense counsel coming right on in. And now you've got people's attention. And you know, for anyone who wasn't really aware, like I knew nothing about this case coming in. Actually, had no intention to watch it. I didn't give a shit. I didn't care. I have no information other than what's been happening in trial. I've done no research. I don't have any background information. The only reason I ended up covering it and watching it is because just for fun, I was like, well, let me hear a little bit of opening statements. And then I was interested, but I only know what's coming at trial. So anyway, that's what my comments and, you know, whatever, that's what my observations are formed on. But that's why I can say, like, for myself, I started watching opening statements, and Lally was putting me to sleep. So I was like, oh, I'll go there was some other trial, right? I was like, I'll go watch that and come back later. I did, came back, and it was defense opening statement. And that opening statement is the reason why not just me, but others as well on LawTube decided to watch the trial, cover the trial. Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and same, right? Being a performer. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. She does get very combative and defensive. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the harassment, there's no one should ever have the harassment. And I think that he even acknowledges that, though. I'm pretty sure. But the problem is she's trying to slip that. She's trying to slip that in when it's not an answer to the question, just to A, distract from the question at hand, and B, probably gain sympathy. But it's to be manipulative. It's to misdirect. And and I think the other thing is to try to make herself out like a victim to gain sympathy. When she won't, there's a dead person. So anyway.
Did you use any applications?
Yeah, I agree, Kitsmits. Lolly.
Well, let me ask it this way.
Lolly.
Did you make any phone calls, just using your phone, any phone calls after you got home, either downstairs or upstairs?
I do not believe so.
Did you use any applications to communicate with anybody through Wi-Fi? Do you know what I mean by that? Like FaceTime audio or WhatsApp, phone calls, things like that?
Text message?
No, actually, and you may not use these, but I'm asking, did you use any kind of third-party app?
He's asking for something besides
Wi-Fi, VoIP
She doesn't seem to know
other
what
than
that
just a phone call?
No.
Okay. It sounds like you don't even know what that is.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. So Kitsman says regarding the facts in this case, I'm just confused. Same. I don't see how this came to trial at all. Same. And while I'm trying to remain skeptical, same. Conspiracy theory. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree with everything that you said. Yeah. I'm not a conspiracy person at all. And and it's almost in a way, it's almost kind of a shame that they decided to take that theory, because I don't think it was necessary. I mean, we'll see, right? If it makes it past a motion for a directed verdict, we'll see what happens. I don't know that they necessarily used the word conspiracy, although I know that word has been thrown around a lot. I mean, I don't know that they used that word specifically though, but they said she was framed. So, but I don't think they need to even go that far, right? Like, but they're taking on a responsibility way greater than what's necessary, because they just need to sow doubt. They're doing way more than that. I mean, they've offered more of a theory of the case than the prosecution has. So, you have the only problem here that can happen is like the burden shifting, right? That it becomes that, which is kind of what we've seen in a way, because the prosecution has only just been kind of trying to preemptively thwart the defense. So it really has become almost like a way of burden shifting, to where, I don't think that you need to go as far, if you're the defense, right, to go as far as like the conspiracy and all that. Like, I think there's plenty here. So anyway, again, yeah, I don't think that one needs to believe in a conspiracy or whatever to think that, hey, there's plenty of reasonable doubt. Right? I mean, my God, the solo cups alone, let's just start there. Again, this is my point. You don't even need, like, the defense has this theory, but I don't think you even need that, because again, the solo, like, when it came to the solo cups, why are we here? I'm sorry, what? Like, that alone, you don't need anything else. And that was just offered from the prosecution. That was, that was the investigation. You don't need to have a theory if you're the defense. All you need is that picture. Yeah, I mean, I think Dr. Bullbutter, I think there's a lot of problems here. I think part of it is that they were not there was a dead body on their front yard and they were not investigated properly. Many of them until some people that were there that night weren't investigated until the trial had started. The house wasn't searched. There was no investigation done. Like, they weren't separated before they were talked to. They didn't take their phones, so all of that stuff is reasonable doubt, right? And then the cops who actually did the investigation, right? Like, not even the ones in the house, but the ones like the solo cup guy, right? I forget his name. That feels like a million years ago. But yeah, you're right that anything to get it off the defendant is the defense's job. I think the better way to look at this is maybe take it off the defense, right? Because it isn't their burden. It's the prosecution's burden. Let's take it off the defense for a second and say, let's talk about what Lally has proved. That's the conversation. And I think that proves what I was saying, that the defense, if anything, the only misstep that they could make potentially is that because they're actually doing more of a job and putting on a theory of the case, everybody, I've heard it on every platform, everyone's assessing their job, the defense's job, but it's not their case in chief and it's not their burden, because that's the thing. We should be talking about Lally and we should be talking about the prosecution, and we should be talking about what job they've done, what evidence they've presented that proves anything about John O'Keefe's death or that Karen Read was connected. And that's the part where I know for me, and not just me, but other folks on YouTube, everyone comes up short because there isn't, we can take it from Lally himself. Hold that thought.
There's no evidence of anything in this case.
So I agree, Lally, with that, and that's a problem. Right, exactly. That's part of the reason that we have the system that we have. Having good defense attorneys, part of it does a lot of things, but one of the things is that you can't get away with being incompetent. Although having said that, my 4-year-old nephew couldn't believe it when I told him about the solo cups. So not that you even have to be an adult and competent. You can be a 4-year-old and competent, and you can see that there's problems there. And I agree. Or maybe just change professions entirely. But, and I've said this before on other streams, that the fact that it's insane to me that the DA's office only put one prosecutor in terms of questioning witnesses, one prosecutor, and it's Lally. I don't know about you guys. I have never seen a trial with only one prosecutor asking the questions, ever. And I've watched a lot of trials. So, it's shocking that it's just Lally. Like, if you're going to put one, you shouldn't put one guy on it. But if you're going to put one guy on it, shouldn't it be, I don't know, your best? But I think that it speaks to how much the DA's office potentially believes or doesn't believe in this case, right? Because of the resources they put into it. I think they just sort of I don't know, it's sad though. It's sad. I agree, but it's not happening, man. He should have done that. That should have happened a long time ago. And I think the reason he's not, right, exactly. I think the reason he's not doing any of this is because he can't. The evidence sucks. The timeline's a mess. There is no way to make the timeline would look like that meme with the crazy red lines everywhere, right? Based on the testimony. But yeah, theoretically he should be doing that, but I guess my point is he's not giving a timeline because the timeline would just prove to the jury that it's a disaster. That's what I think it is. And I even said during Friday's live stream that if I were the defense in closing, I would make a timeline and I would say, you guys haven't had a timeline in this entire trial. And you might have been wondering, why didn't the prosecution present a timeline? And it's well, here's why, because it would look like this. And you just show them what a mess it is, and that would be enough. I know, right? It's so weird because you know what, Elaine? Yeah, no, I think most people could do better. 100%. Yep. You're better. Like I think it's great that you want to help him. You're nicer than I am, I guess, in a way. I mean, I think I'm a nice person, but like I don't find myself wanting to help him. I think that they get the sense that he's maybe just outmatched, but also that there's maybe a bit of an element of being lazy. I don't know. He doesn't seem like he's really trying. I guess that's what it is. If he seemed like he was trying, it would be different. And as a teacher, I can usually spot that. But yeah, I never thought we would see the day when Elaine seems like great, or not great, but like, I'm telling you what, if you were to count him and put him head to head, he probably will quadruple her ratio of what if any to any other words. What if any words do they use that are not what if any? That's the real question. Yeah.
So it's safe to say that you didn't use, or you don't use any multimedia to communicate. You don't use FaceTime or Snapchat or Signal or anything like that.
I've used FaceTime with my children, yes.
Not for phone calls.
No.
Like FaceTime audio is a way that you can make a call. No?
I've FaceTimed with my kids at school, but,
That's videos. Right?
oh, okay, so yeah, I guess not.
You didn't do that night either.
Not that I recall.
Did you, now I'm going to get back to your question. Did you text anybody?
Yeah.
I did, yes.
Who did you text?
I texted my sisters, and I texted my husband and a friend in a group chat.
I have done that, and it's a nightmare. I've done that though.
You texted your husband and a friend in a
Horrifying.
group chat? Is that yes?
Yes,
Your husband was home?
yes.
I want to switch gears for a second and ask you real quick
Like
about
it when attorneys say that ever, and every attorney does.
later that morning when you went to John O'Keefe's house. You mentioned on Friday that you went into his house and began to look around for him when you first got there with Carrie Roberts and my client Karen Reed, correct?
Yes,
You indicated that you looked in his bedroom and saw that the bed was made, correct?
yes,
Yeah.
You indicated that you looked around other parts of the house looking for him, searching for him, is that right?
yes.
You obviously saw the blankets and pillows on the couch downstairs.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Elaine at least has a little bit more inflection in her voice. I mean, it's not a lot. It's just a little bit more, even when she's just trying to sound puzzled or quizzical. She gets a little bit more of a difference in her inflection. So yeah, that would give her an advantage over
in
Lally,
the living room, correct?
head to head.
I peeked over at the couch.
And you're aware that Karen Reed stayed on the couch that night to wait for John to come home.
I'm not aware of that, no.
You testified on Friday that my client said at the scene, when you got back to the scene, 34 Fairview, just after 6 a.m., that she said, I hit him 3 times. She declared it, correct?
Correct.
Not once, not twice, 3 times. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, correct?
Correct.
You have a very specific memory of that event, do you not?
I do.
Obviously, that's an incredibly impactful thing for you to remember. Is that right?
It was an impactful statement, yes.
And you remember it today as well as you remembered it the day she did it.
Yes.
You'll agree that your testimony in that case, in that hearing, rather, April of 2022, that was just a few months after the events in question, right?
Yes.
You were under oath at the time that you gave that testimony,
Yes.
and you were subject to the penalty of perjury when you were answering those questions, correct?
Yes.
Ms. McCabe, I'd like you to turn to the page, since you've reviewed this, turn to the page of that document where you ever said in your testimony that my client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Oh boy.
Was I asked what she said?
This is a really important part of this cross.
Well, I'd like you to direct me where to look.
I want you to look at the
You guys have probably seen this, but this is a really important part of this cross exam because, yeah, this is such important testimony or from her, right? About the I hit him thing.
Hire grand jury testimony if you need to, and turn to the page where you ever said that my client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
I'm not sure if it's in this document, but I can tell you today with 100% clarity, she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him on that morning.
So it's not in that document, is it?
I'm not sure if I could take the time, and do you want me to read over 200 pages?
May I approach?
Yes.
So as to you guys wondering about what happened to, so y'all probably haven't been to the episodes where, so here's the thing. We have not heard from a medical examiner, which would be helpful, but part of how we are going to understand anything about this, we need to hear from a medical examiner. However, let me go ahead and tell you guys something. So I accidentally came across John O'Keefe's injuries from when he was in the hospital, or maybe it was an autopsy. I'm not entirely sure. It was completely accidental. I thought it was ads for like hair plugs, and I was like ignoring it. And then I was like, oh wait, what? And it was not. Normally. So I saw his injuries, and here's what I will say. I will say that the back of his head, and I think this is important in figuring out what happened. The back of his head, the gash, is a lot worse than it was described as. And it's very specific. It's like, okay, so it's not like a knife. It's very specific. It's like something was sharp, but also kind of blunt, but like the depth of it, it's like there was an amount of force. Like, to me, the way it looks is like if someone were to fall back or be pushed back into a specific type of sharp object to where they have their body weight that makes the thing cut like that. And so far, from what we know of existing in this case, there's two things that we know of, two items that I can think of that potentially look like they could be responsible for that injury. One of them is this. Hold on. Let me find it. I'm finding it. Hold on, guys. One of them is this. The top of this fire hydrant right here. Actually, in the next picture, we'll see it close up. Hold on. Here, it's on the right-hand side. So the top of that, sharp, rusty, that to me looks like if someone fell backwards, that could potentially cause that. But the other thing is the edge of the snowplow. And I just thought of that when the snowplow first started coming up into the discussion in the trial with the white Jeep. That let me pull that back.
No, I don't want to take the time.
Sorry. So the snowplow, when you think of the snowplow, and then it has like the top edge and the bottom edge. Actually, Brian Higgins referred to it as a blade, which I never thought of it that way, but I guess. So the top edge and the bottom edge being sharp like that. And again, my thought when they were describing, who was it? I forget who was on the stand. Might have been Brian Albert Sr., but there's discussion about the black SUV and where it was laid in relation to the Jeep. And it dawned on me that, like, seeing his injuries, if somebody backed into him, whether on purpose or on accident, and backed into him and it hit his face, I could see that maybe being responsible for some of the facial injuries in the front. But then if he was drunk or whatever, and but being backed into like that, and then it pushed it, he lost his balance and fell backwards, and his head hit the edge of that snowplow, that to me looks like what I saw injury-wise. Now, again, because we don't have evidence from the prosecution, I'm having to base it on the injuries that I accidentally saw, right? And the fact that the snowplow being there, and there's a lot of stuff about that. So that to me, now, having said that, there's a lot of black SUVs in this trial. And there's a lot of weirdness about like all the black SUVs in this trial. So I don't know if that helps with anything, but I think that in order to get to who did it, right? Regardless of the fact that that's not the point of like what Kit Smith said is exactly right. The point is reasonable doubt, that's acquittal. But for our own edification, beyond the justice system, wanting to know what happened and get to the truth of what happened, I think that the first thing that we're going to have to get information on is the injuries from the like for me, I'm like medical examiner. Give me evidence. I need the medical examiner. I need telemetry. I need cell phone evidence. I need evidence. And until then, I'm stuck with having to start with just guessing how did he get hurt before I can even get to anything else. So, right. But the cranial fracture is from being hit in the face, right? Like, I thought that's what it was from. I mean, okay, I feel like we're already delving into, we haven't heard from a medical examiner. So it looks like he was punched in the face. But I don't take any offense to this. We have not heard anyone testify. We have not heard from the medical examiner. We should not be guessing, right? We need to hear from the medical examiner as to what caused those injuries and how were those injuries involved or not involved in his cause of death, right? Because he had a lot of different injuries. Not everything caused his death. So we need to hear, I mean, that's why most trials start with that. So the jury has an understanding of how the person died. And that makes a lot of sense to start a trial with. Because you don't want people guessing, right? Like the way we have to. So, but yeah, we need to hear from a medical
Because you just indicated that you reviewed this document in anticipation of your testimony, right?
Correct.
So you've gone over it recently.
A few weeks back.
So we don't need to read it. You know that you never testified to that in the grand jury in April of 2022, don't you?
I don't know that as a fact. I would have to reread 222
no idea.
pages or however long it is.
You think you might
I
have
have
missed
no
it
idea.
when you reviewed your testimony in anticipation?
I mean, that's assuming he presents the regular evidence, right? I mean, backwards would be better. Like at this point, it's hard to imagine that. I mean, I hope it's coming. But I have no idea. It's so weird. And it's not just me saying this. It's like everybody says, why would you do this stuff last? You would always do it first. And it does make me wonder, and others too, like, is he just going to skip it? Like, I have no idea. I wish I could answer your question. It's not a strategy we've ever seen before in trial.
I'm sorry, when you reviewed your transcript in anticipation for your testimony?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
I read it a few weeks ago.
It's probably the most powerful part of your testimony, ma'am.
And I will never forget it.
Objection.
Okay, so that's stricken.
Would you agree? Do you think that's a powerful part of your testimony?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
It is, yes.
Well, yeah, I would.
Did
Yeah.
you see it in the transcript?
Clearly.
I cannot recall. It's over 200 pages.
These are select pages out of your grand jury testimony.
I'm very sad.
Isn't it true, Ms. McCabe, that you were asked when you testified no fewer than 12 times?
Can you imagine if you're the family when they saw those red Solo cups? Can you imagine? That is beyond.
What my client said, either at the scene or on the way to the scene.
At the scene, I was asked twice, according to this.
My question is, isn't it true that in April of 2022, you testified no fewer than 12 times, 12 separate statements you gave about what my client's statements were, either at the scene or in the car ride on leading up to go into the scene? You remember that?
I do.
Okay, so on page 190 of what you're looking at, these should all be highlighted.
It is.
You testified that my client said to you over the phone at 4:53 a.m., she asked the question, did I hit him? You see that?
I do.
Number two, on page 192, talking about when y'all were in the car on the way to the scene, Karen asked the question, could I have hit him? You see that?
Yes.
Page 193, lines 1 through 2. You testified that in the car, once again, she asked the question, could she have hit him? You were relaying that, meaning could I have hit him, correct?
Correct.
Page 193, line 23. In John's driveway, she asked the question, quote, and she is asking if she could have hit him.
Yes.
Page 201, driving to Fairview. She asked the question, what if I hit him? And could I have hit him? Correct?
Correct.
Page 202, lines 1 through 2. While driving to Fairview, she asked the question, could I have hit him?
Correct.
Page 208, lines 24 through 25, outside at Fairview, she asked the question, did I hit him? And went on to ask, could I have hit him? Correct?
Correct.
And your testimony was also on page 208 that Karen was yelling nonstop in front of the female EMT, did I hit him? Could I have hit him?
By the way, I always try to, every time I update the thumbnail, I add some more things. The newest edition, if you guys noticed the leaf blower in the thumbnail, this is how this is just how I roll. That's the actual leaf blower. As in, that's the actual leaf blower from evidence, not just the model. That is the actual leaf blower. And I edited out the person holding it in the green jacket from the evidence, from the pictures, crime scene pictures and whatnot. It's the actual leaf blower. So yeah. I think about this too, that it is interesting because technically what he's doing would be more like a rebuttal, right? But I don't think this is not a normal, okay. Brief, quick example, Murdoch. In Murdoch, there were times when the defense and maybe even the prosecution, I can't recall, one side or both sides, there were different times during the trial when they wanted to ask a witness a certain question. And they were actually stopped from that line of questioning because they were told, that's for rebuttal. Because rebuttal is specific. It has to address, the way that it works, the rules of evidence, the rebuttal has to address specific things that were brought up by the previous case in chief. So if you're the prosecution, by the defense's, for Lally, right? Has to be brought up by the defense's case in chief. And it has to be specific points that they raised that you did not get to address on your case in chief. And it's very limited, rebuttal is. So the reason this doesn't make any sense, and I have thought about that. I've thought about this entire thing because I'm yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like rebuttal. However, that still doesn't make any sense in terms of what's allowed because they haven't gone yet. So it has that vibe to it. Totally has that vibe to it. It's still interesting as to how this is able to happen. Because like I said, in other trials, the judge would be sorry, you can't go there yet. You have to wait until the other case in chief. You have to wait till rebuttal. So it is and again, finishing with the strongest evidence, all the attorneys that, I always look up to and admire on LawTube that, they all say that the strategy typically is you want to start with your strongest evidence because then if the jury's on your side, they're going to see the rest of your case in chief through that lens. If you get them on your, if you get them on your side, it's almost like having them biased to your side in a way to where if they're with you right from the get-go, and then everything else that you do, they're going to read it through that lens of whatever your theory is. Right. And that makes sense. So I totally get the idea of finishing strong, but when you hear an attorney explain how that's not what you would normally do, it makes sense when they explain it like that, it actually makes more sense, right? That you start strong because you want the jury on your side. And then that way, anything that you do, it's they're almost biased towards believing, it's like a confirmation bias, right? So I don't know what he's doing.
Is he dead? Correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I agree.
Approach?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's 12 times that you reiterated under oath, under penalty of perjury, in April of 2022, what my client's statements were either at the scene or leading up to getting to the scene. Correct?
Correct.
Every single one of those, 12 separate times, you indicated that she asked a question, something like, could I have hit him or did I hit him? Correct?
Correct.
Not one time in that testimony, did you say she declared, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him? Did you?
The questions that were asked, when she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, that was at the scene in response to an officer asking questions. What I just read
that makes
was
sense.
us when she first called me, or when we were driving in the car, or when we were at.
Yeah, this makes sense. The problem is that all we've had so far is, you know, weak evidence / not really evidence at all. You know, we really haven't had much. I mean, this is a really unusual trial. It really is.
John's house. So I was answering the question that I was asked.
So you believe that you weren't asked the question, did she say to an officer, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him? And if you're not asked the question, did she say to an officer, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him? You're not going to volunteer that she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. That's your testimony.
No, that's not.
Your testimony.
My testimony is an officer was asking her what his name was and different things about him. And at that point, she was saying, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Which officer?
I do not recall.
Well, you recall the I hit him. You just told me that was the most impactful thing in the morning.
It was shocking.
So what officer did she say this to, supposedly?
I was more focused on her and her hysteria than which officer was asking the question.
So you have no idea who the officer was even, correct?
I'm not sure which officer was asking her. It could have been an EMT. Someone said, what is his name? Does he have medical conditions? How old is he?
But you were asked that question, ma'am. On page 208, you were asked what she said in front of the female EMT who was asking her questions. And her answer was, your answer was, she said, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Is that right?
That is correct.
That would have been a good time to offer up that she confessed, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, right?
Objection.
Sustained as to that form.
Mr. McCabe, the truth of the matter is you've manufactured this new story for this jury because you think it helps you out.
Absolutely not.
You called 911 at 6:04 a.m. Is that right?
Yes.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, Exhibit 36 has already been marked and entered.
Oh,
I
right.
would ask to play a portion
Okay.
of that.
So we're going to hear this snippet of this 911 call, and that's going to be pretty much the end of this this portion. But Kit Smith is saying she doesn't know if it's factual or conjecture, but heard that the DA tried to pressure Carey into a plea deal. I mean, I think that happens most of the time. Like, plea deals are, typically a good way for the state to save money. I mean, by state, I mean any state. Going to trial is expensive for everybody. So, that's why they do it. Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. Right. I mean, that makes sense. But then in that case, like, if that's the case, they have to develop it on cross, which I think they're doing a great job of. It's interesting because Lally's just giving them all the fuel for that, right? Like, in other words, like I see what you're saying, but like, I feel like Lally is only giving them everything they need to develop that through cross, if that makes sense, by asking the types of questions he's asking. Right. Yeah. Now, I mean, of course, I know that Kit Smith, that they get court-appointed attorneys, right? I know that. And a good, court-appointed attorney, right? If they believe that they have a case, they would not recommend that their client take the plea deal. Of course, it'll be up to the client no matter what, right? But they're going to, advise them Sometimes a plea deal might be good for certain cases, right? It just depends. One thing I will say is that Ann Taylor is giving single-handedly, I feel like giving, providing people with confidence that there are public defenders who are fierce and what's the right word? Vigorous advocates. There's another word, not vigorous. Anyway, I'll think of it when I'm not trying to think of it. I mean, great question. I have no idea. Maybe he doesn't know what the internet is. It's really a puzzle, isn't it? I mean, really. We've actually on another stream, it was funny. We were having a conversation. We were like, hey guys, what do you think Wally's life is like? Like, what kind of car does he drive? So that was the first thing. We were like, what kind of zealous? That was the word. Thank you, zealous. Yes. What kind of car does he drive? And then like, what does he do when he gets home? Like, does he have a wife? And like, what do they eat for dinner? And like trying to picture his life because it's really funny to do. If you ever want just like something to do, like with your brain for fun, like that's a good one. You can kind of go wherever you want with that. But like, yeah, Lolly's, that's exactly my point. Lolly's helping the defense. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but zealous, thank you. That was the word I was looking for. Zealous advocates. Yeah. So there you go. I mean, fuck, like, I don't know if they offered him a plea deal, but like some attorneys would have probably taken that or, advised that he take it. But boy, Ann Taylor is just the definition of what you want for a, I mean, it doesn't even matter if it's court appointed or not. She's fucking fierce. Right. Well, thank you. What, if anything, is this internet you people all sort of refer to? Lovely. In reference to, yeah, there you go. That's the other thing. Thank you for saying that because I feel like that's not been appreciated enough. But he does say in reference to as much as, if not more than, he says the what if any's / what if any spinoffs.
911 tape, not the entirety of it.
Okay.
Yes. Do you recognize the voice on that tape?
Yes, that's mine.
Appear to be a true and accurate, at least that portion, a true and accurate reporting of the 911 call that you made that morning?
It was a very brief clip. I'd have to hear more.
Let's go ahead and play, starting at runtime 1:30 to about runtime 1:45.
46 years old. 46, how long has he been outside? I don't know. I don't know. He got out of the car and...
Stop. Was that you?
Yes, that was.
Is that the 911 call?
Yes, it was.
And what did you just say?
I said, I don't know. He got out of the car.
He got out of the car.
Classic, right?
Correct?
Yes.
I know. That's the best one. I mean,
And this was at 6:03 in the morning, correct?
Correct.
there is that one part where Lolly, I don't even remember what it was in God, here I am saying in reference to, but he says something about his right hand attached to his right arm, but he says it in a way that I don't even know how to explain it. It's really funny. I know. It's crazy. It's really crazy. Like the questions he asks, y'all, the questions he asks, even if he asks them in a normal way, it's like a twofold thing. It's like the way he asks them, but then also these questions that are just like I point them out when I see them sometimes. I try to, or it's like, questions that are like, could only be answered a certain way. Like, so, did you ever leave the building or something like that, where it's like, of course, like they're not still there. I don't know. I'm not giving you a good example, but yeah. Y'all have seen it.
Before you ever talked to Brian Albert?
Correct.
Before you ever talked to your sister Nicole Albert?
Correct.
Before you ever talked to Chris Albert?
Correct.
Before you ever talked to Julie Albert?
Correct.
You hadn't talked to anybody at this point other than Carrie Roberts, correct?
And Karen Reed.
And my client.
Correct.
And in that 911 call, you said he got out of the car, didn't you?
I did, because Karen Reed had told me that she had left him there.
Your words were, he got out of the car, correct?
Correct.
Did you make any other calls other than to 911?
I called my sister.
What time was that?
I believe it was after the 911, but I'm not sure.
You claim that your sister didn't answer. Is that right?
She did not answer.
But you do know that your phone extraction shows that that was an answered call at 6:07.
If that's what it shows, but I can tell you she did not answer the phone.
And you
It was Chloe.
are sure
Chloe
about that
answered the
as you are, my client said, I hit him 3 times, right?
I certainly am, yes.
Wow, that was you guys, hold on. Wow, that was insane.
Right.
Out of
Correct.
nowhere. That's crazy. Hold on.
Did you make any other calls
Wow.
other than to 911?
I called my sister.
What time was that?
I believe it was after the 911, but I'm not sure.
You claim that your sister didn't answer. Is that right?
She did not answer.
But you do know that your phone extraction shows that that was an answered call at 6:07.
If that's what it shows, but I can tell you she did not answer the phone.
And you are sure about that as you are, my client said, I hit him 3 times, right?
I certainly am, yes.
That is insane. That's like, oh, hold on. Where's my, wait, no, hold on. I need to do my shout out.
Your sister didn't
Answer the phone.
and you are sure about that as you are,
Here we go. Hold on.
said I hit him 3 times, right?
I certainly am, yes.
Perfect.
There we go. Shout out to the fan, the only fan. That's a cute squirrel. So, okay. So, yeah, Kitsmith says, right? Oh, yeah, sorry. He asked if someone woke up, while they're sitting, right. Questions like that. Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Kitsmith says, I admit I watch these trials as a form of entertainment. Right. I get it. I'm with you on that. Totally. I have to set aside the horror of realities. Yeah. No, I also, I feel the same way about it. Yeah. I mean, I love the law and I love the strategies. 100%. Like I, like you, have also been told I should, could be a lawyer if I wasn't teaching music. So I think there's definitely a commonality or an overlap there in the way brains work between music and law. Like I believe that 100%. And yeah, I'm with you on that. I love trying to understand it. Right. Yeah, no, you're all good. I don't really fully understand the concept of meta. I know I'm a weirdo. I feel like whenever you try to ask someone what meta is, the answer you get makes no sense. So I maybe didn't fully understand what you were saying in regards to or in reference to the meta things. But I totally understand that, yeah, the laughing as opposed to crying, 100%. Right. Question, and how, if you know, did she kick the door with her feet? There's so many. Oh my God. Like there's just so many. I hope someone's keeping a log of them, like somehow. Oh my gosh. Right. So that's exactly my says meta to me at least refers to, oh wow, this is hard to explain concisely. Right. I feel like that's the answer I always get. So I guess in my mind, it's hard to understand how anyone knows what it is, right? Because it's kind of like objection vague. So tomorrow, wait, sorry, not tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow the plan is we're going to watch the hearing, the Idaho hearing from May 23rd, where we're going to get to see Ann Taylor and law enforcement, and they're going to go over cell phone evidence. And we're going to go through that. And then we will pick up with the recaps from week 4 on Monday. And reminder, guys, we only have, in terms of for Karen Reed anyway, they only have court on Tuesday. So we have lots of days off wherein we can catch up on all these recaps. I mean, not that we're that far behind. We're doing good. But yeah. So, and then I will try if I can on Tuesday to do a live stream of Brian Higgins back on the stand for some more cross-examination. I imagine he'll be all day. It'll probably be the finish cross and then redirect, recross. And I'm assuming that's it for this week then. For anyone who missed it, I've mentioned it before, but we did the live stream on Friday of Brian Higgins on direct and like the first couple minutes of cross. But I highly recommend, even if you've seen his testimony, because we actually, by we, I mean, people who were there watching, we actually pointed out a lot of things that I haven't actually seen on other channels. And there was a lot of laughing, but there was a lot of like kind of like aha moments. I think it's worthwhile. And I have really specific timestamps as well for that too. So I wouldn't recommend it if I thought it was just going to be redundant or wasting anybody's time. So okay, Kit Smith is still trying to explain meta to me. I appreciate it. She's like, what's going on behind the scenes with fiction? It's like, okay, music example. What was happening in the composer's life while writing a piece? Right. Okay. But how does it apply to like other things besides? Like, I get it. I understand that. I don't know how that, like, how does that extend? Is it just context? Context, right? Is that kind of what you mean? Yeah, I get it. So it sounds kind of like, sounds sort of like context. But like as a musician, that's all normal to learn all that stuff. So okay. So okay. So thanks everybody for being here. As always, I'll have the timestamps done. There's obviously a playlist, you guys are probably already well aware, for everything related to this trial and other cases that I've been covering and whatnot. Also, if you like music, I've got music playlists, classical music and not classical music. So y'all, all that exists, and appreciate people for hanging out and contributing to the conversation. Yes, please do try and Discord if you have the energy. We'll appreciate that. And hopefully to see you guys tomorrow for the Idaho hearing. And if not tomorrow, then sometime soon. But yeah, that'll be it for now. And again, thanks so much for being here and for being a squirrel. And I will go ahead and roll the outro. See y'all very soon.